all it is an announcement, that's fine.
Okay, come on up and, are you ready to?
Yes, we're recording.
Okay, we'll go ahead and let you make the announcement.
Oh, that's it. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity, all of you. I know you read in the paper a little bit about it, and everybody here want to invite you. We need your prayers. We got to try to get parking ready, but we're having a benefit for the future indoor archery and soccer complex. The council will be getting a site plan and all of that. We'll go through all the due diligence on that. So that's forthcoming. We have some major artists coming, as you know. Bucky Covington, our local, everybody around there knows Bucky and love him. He's going to open up for Tracy Lawrence on June the 11th. We'll start at 7 o'clock that night. We'll have a professional stage up there. We're going to do our best to get as much parking we can on the property adjacent to the nonprofit that belongs to my brothers and I. We're asking some of the local churches, and they agree to help us with parking and busing and things like that. That's a concert that will be paid. All the proceeds will go toward future building of this proposed indoor archery and soccer complex we've been working on for years. On another note, we're about ready to open up the batting cage. Finally, after all these years, been a lot of work going in, a lot of people have put into it, but the fitness center has provided the finances to do a lot of these things. So we're so proud. I know a lot of you are members, and like me, you don't even go up there, but your membership helped pay. Mayor helped us out, and a lot of people have helped. I mean, and thank you, all of you who have contributed all the way. On Saturday, we're gonna have sort of a fun day, like a summer fest. It'll be bouncy houses up there. A lot of the local vendors will show their wares and be showing off what they got, what they can do. We'll have a little health fair thing going on. That night, we've got a gospel night. So Friday night's country, Saturday gospel. We have the Isaac. They're coming there, a great bluegrass gospel. A lot of you know them. It's free of charge. We are going to take fun offering. Just I'll give you a warning. Dr. Ben Graham of Ben Graham Films, the guy's an amazing speaker. He's going to give a very brief gospel message. We'll have tents up there. We'll have pastors from local churches and leaders from local churches that are good counselors that are willing to pray or counsel with people, whatever the needs happen to be spiritually. And now this is a surprise. We thought Jason Crabb was going to get to come, but he had double booked. And we tried to get Ricky Skaggs, and that just didn't work out. But we got somebody really, really good. Now, when I say his name and you look him up on Wikipedia, you can see the past he lived. But this man is a changed man. That's even better. Daryl Worley, the guy that sang the song, Have You Forgotten? Several other #1 hits. He's a songwriter. He's written songs for years. He's touring with the Isaacs, with Brian White and some other people. He's currently working on a Christian album, and he's got a really good testimony. And the word I got is when he was asked to come, he literally got tears in his eyes about the opportunity to share the gospel. So we hope to have a lot of people up there. You'll see the advertisements going up on the billboards. Roland Signs is sponsoring us, so we'll have billboards in Westmoreland, Lafayette, Cookeville, Lebanon, either one in Gallatin or Hendersonville, and then up on 109, and maybe some more. We'll be on radio. Bucky will be on radio on 95.1 promoting it. It's being promoted pretty heavily down in the Lebanon and Mount Juliet area. So, there may be a cutoff. We may have some restrictions due to the COVID, so we'll be waiting for the state to, if we can only sell so many tickets. You will be able to get tickets. Hopefully that the number won't be too limited. It may be a certain number, and then we just have to cut off depending on the COVID. We're hoping by then enough people have the vaccine that some things open up, and that's our hope. We're praying for that. But you'll see these announcements on the videos. I mean, on the billboards that say, get your tickets at grahamfilm.com. And if you look it up right now, it's grahamfilm.com. They do films with Amy Grant, Martha W. Smith, just all family Christian oriented, and Ben's great people. We've got a lot of churches around there. Most of the churches are just all on board. And I want to invite you council members and all of you here tonight to be a part. if you want to, work in the thing, we're wide open. We have a rally over at the Grandpa's Music on April the 26th this month. We're just rallying, and we want to get 100 people together. And we're going to divide up in groups. Obviously, we have a lot of things. Chief Jolly's agreed to help us with the security. Also, Detective Ray, they're putting together a force for that. We have a team for feeding the people. We have a team for picking up garbage. We have a team for monitoring, for parking. It's all the things that go into that. And I'm absolutely scared to death. I've never done anything like. I need your prayers, but I'm shaking in my boots. There's so much to do. So, any questions, and I'll get out of your hair.
One question, sir. April the 26th, what time?
7. I'm always good about leaving something out.
Oh, you're good.
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Yep. And on Saturday, we'll open up after lunch, and there'll just be a lot of fun. There's also a Christian skateboard group that go around the country doing skating and skateboarding. They're going to be up there on Saturday afternoon sharing their testimony and showing their professional skating. I'd get killed. Somebody asked me if that was something that the clinic put up there for more business. I think the batting cage may be the same way. So I almost got killed by a ball the other day. There was one in the chamber, and I didn't know it up in the tube. And when they turned it on, it shot past my head. About 95 miles an hour. So any other questions?
It looks good up there. It looks good.
Listen, we got a long way to go. And I want to thank the council again for letting us move forward. It's been a slow process, but and all of you have been a great part of it. Lord bless you all. Have a great rest of the meeting here.
Thanks.
I hate
Thank
meetings,
you.
by the way. See you
Thank
guys.
you.
See ya.
I believe that most everyone that's in the room is already on their second dose. So
Oh, good.
feel pretty good about it.
Thank y'all.
Oh, one thing that we need to cover that's very important before we actually get into the meeting is to discuss the charter amendments. Did you get the email, or have you read the email that you should have sent out that came from Mr. Gary?
I haven't gotten to go through it very heavily yet.
Okay, we need you probably before you leave the meeting tonight to go through some of that. The legislature has put our charter on hold until we give them an answer to that email. I told them yesterday when they called that we're having a meeting tonight and we will discuss that. So we can go through that a little bit later, but we'll get what's in the meeting first before we tackle that. Honestly, I think that there shouldn't be any problems. The first part of it as Mr. Bradley said, is historic content, and they were recommending, my understanding, that we take that out. But it's totally up to the council how they want to proceed with it. And Keisha may be able to answer more questions about it than anything, but you will need to, once a decision is made tonight, you will need to email this gentleman back and Mr. Garrett, and you might copy John Bradley and Representative Lambert on it, because they were very concerned about it, and as they're nearing the close, man, they want to make sure that it didn't fall through the cracks. So I wanted to mention that before we got going. And first item up that we have tonight, Mr. Bradley had suggested that we remove our tornado siren. There's been some discussion about it being outdated, and Chief Jolly had mentioned that in checking with his sources that we were not able to do Wi-Fi on that. Of course, the big problem is that since we do not have dispatch now, that line of communication with it is down, and evidently There's a lot more to it than we started was to try to get it going. I was getting ready to go ahead and pull the plug on it, have it removed when, Mr. Zach called and said, they would like to discuss, something with us. So I've invited him and his team here tonight. And if you want to try to take a few minutes to try to change our mind about it, and,
My name is Clint Zach. I work for MCA. We are a company that used to be Wireless Plus down in Madison. And my owner, Mark Walker, has been in this community for over 40 years doing two-way radio, public safety stuff for 30 plus years. We got acquired by a bigger company who now does mass notification. I'm not an expert on that. That's what Don and Joe are for. But I was the one that kind of brought them in and wanted to make sure you guys knew that there was other options besides just, leave as is or get rid of it. We got a couple ideas that, we wanted to at least bring out into the open and see if it was something that was worth you guys considering before just disbanding it all together. So I'll let Don and Joe, I believe, over there, I'll let them take it from here so I don't triple my own feet here.
here, please.
As Clint mentioned, my name's Don Roney, and I am the regional representative for Wheeling Engineering. We're the manufacturer of sirens, tornado warning sirens. I haven't looked at the police cars, but I would say there's a good chance they've got Wheeling light bars on. So we make all the light bars and sirens go to police, fire trucks, ambulances, whatever, the same company. American-made product, American design, engineered, from raw materials coming in the front door to the sirens going out the back door. That's how much work we actually do with our system. And it's all done in Chester, Connecticut, and Charlestown, New Hampshire. Those two areas is where we make them. But I'm the regional rep for Wheeling in this area. Been doing this for 30 years. So I've seen a lot of cities that have opted to go with sirens, and some say, well, we have an old one, it's not working, we're taking it down. And the reason we're here is to kind of give you some pluses and minuses for doing this. You probably realized over the last several weeks, we've been under tornado warnings repeatedly. Right now, it'd have to be a snowinado because it'd be snowing outside, I think, we got rain. But we need to kind of look and see what you have. I did drive around, I saw you have a siren up by the water tower, and you have another small one right here beside the police department. Now, which one is active and which one doesn't work? Do you know?
Neither one.
Neither one?
Neither one.
Oh.
That one was for the old fire department.
That's what I thought.
When they blew the whistle and all the volunteer firemen come running. The one above the water tank was the one that was installed in 2012.
Okay.
It was purchased under the disaster grant at that time.
Okay.
What has happened, it was activated from the dispatchers at our police department.
Okay.
We no longer have that function. It's a county function that goes out of a consolidated dispatching now.
Okay. So you don't do any dispatching here in the city?
No.
Okay. Well, we can work around that. That's not a bad thing. The first thing we want to do is we'll address activating, changing, or putting in a system that'll activate this siren here, the one that's operational. We have software now, and MCA is their software that we can put in, and it actually receives information from the National Weather Service, and it says Sumner County is in a tornado warning. Now, it goes farther than that because it kind of dissects the county and area, and it puts you into a certain block. And so if you're within that region of Sumner County that's actually under a tornado warning, we can have the National Weather Service turn on the sirens. We can do that because the siren's so close, we can actually just shoot a radio beam to it and turn on a relay and trigger a relay up here to this one. and activate it. So it can be done automatically. And we don't have to have a third person to do it. We can put a base station right here at the police department and connect this siren activation software to it, and it can control your existing siren. And the reason we're really kind of asking you to rethink whether you want to take it down. In my 30 years, I've never had citizens ask me the question, why do we have sirens? Now, it's when that question is asked, I usually ask where they're from and have you ever been in a city that's been hit by a tornado? And they say, no, I'm from, New England and I've never seen a tornado. Well, you don't know what it's for then, because these are tornado warning sirens. Anybody who's ever lived in a tornado active region as we are now, we're actually in what they call Dixie Alley. That's the tornado alley that Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi are in. It used to run up through the center of the U.S., Kansas, Missouri, Minnesota, the Dakotas, whatever. That was the main tornado alley. But the National Weather Service says that alley is shifted, and it's shifted east. So it goes from the southeast to northeast. They call this Dixie Alley. So we're kind of in the heart of Dixie Alley. And that's why we have so many tornadoes that you're seeing more and more. If we have a siren and it's not working, let's get the activation system in here. Let's get this one working. It's not my siren, but we can get it working. And that's not what I prefer to have there. We've got a much better siren, one just like Hartsville has. Hartsville's got our new 2900, and it's a voice and siren system. But we need to get this one working, because should we take it down and then you get hit with a tornado, then the citizens are going to say, you took down the tornado siren? You said, well, it wasn't working, but they won't understand that part. They'll understand that y'all took it down. And why did you take the siren down? Those are the kind of things that we find after somebody's been hit by a tornado. So we're asking you to reconsider that. Rather than take it down, we have proposals for this software to go in and activate this siren with a new software from your police department, and can be done automatically, which gives you control of it and not the county. The county, you're controlling it, you're making sure the siren's working, you're doing that. So the autonomous control stays within the city of when you're going to activate the siren. And so that no one has the responsibility during tornadoes, the National Weather Service Center can trigger it, and they'll actually trigger it, the siren. They'll send out a command, is what it does, to Weather Warn, and Weather Warn receives this command and says, hey, we're under this area of Sumner County is in tornado warning, and the siren will go off automatically any time of the day, day or not, it doesn't matter. That's a good thing. Now that's for this one siren. Now we've got a couple of proposals. One is a proposal just to simply put in a new activation control system for your old siren. The second proposal is to remove the old siren and install a new siren, much the same thing that Hartsville has. And a WPS 2910, which is our siren model, is an omnidirectional siren. It's a black cylinder looking device, stands about 12 feet tall, and it has 10 400-watt speakers, 10 400-watt amplifiers. It's very powerful and very loud. The benefits of that siren over this one is, one, we don't have to have AC. You don't have to have electrical power. So when the lights go out and a thunderstorm comes through and knocks out power in an area, our siren is still going to work because it works off its internal batteries. Number one benefit. Two, it's a voice and siren system. It doesn't just make a noise and people say, well, what is that noise? After each siren tone, it can be followed with a pre-recorded voice message that would say, the city of Westmoreland is now under a tornado warning. Seek shelter now. To tell you the impact of that little message is used to be a lady that lives in Northwest Alabama, and she was the EMA director for the state of Alabama for several years. And she told me one day when she heard my siren, she said, I heard the siren. I thought, oh my goodness, we're under a tornado warning. She said, when I heard the message telling me to seek shelter, she said, I had cold chills. She said, I've got to go. She said, immediately went into action and didn't sit around and wait, because now they understand why the siren's going on. There isn't any ambiguous need of saying, well, I guess that's the police siren, that's fine. No, Westmoreland is under a tornado warning siren, seek shelter now. And you will have people seeking shelter immediately. And that's the benefit of our new siren. But again, we can take this one down, put it down. If you purchase the new WeatherWarn software right now, then it will work with our system. So it's not like you're buying something that works temporarily and you have to throw it away. You're just going to buy something that's going to temporarily work this siren until we get through the process of installing a new siren. And that's certainly something we can do. We don't have to necessarily throw that one away. We could probably go out and place it in one of the ballparks, or place it at a school, do another area, maybe probably in the southwest part of the city, because your storms are coming from the southwest and they're pushing the wind. They're pushing the sound to the northeast. So we might find somewhere in the southwest part of the city to use it. But now you have two sirens. One of them is a voice siren, one is a tone only, but we can eventually grow this system to where we're covering the city completely. Speaking of coverage, though, the one WPS 2910, the one model I'm talking about, covers the entire city. It has a 1 mile radius of coverage. So it's 360 1 mile radius of coverage, and we're covering the entire city. Now that's based on my Google Earth, the copy of Google Earth that I'm using. If your city limits have changed since Google Earth has updated their software, I don't know. But where it stands right now, the siren looks like it's going to cover, one siren is going to cover the entire town. And we can still, though, add, if y'all annex certain areas and we need to put in another one, we can let the system grow. So, but what we've done here is just give you an idea. We put together a lease option purchase, and that would be, it's like $1,455 a month for 5 years. And at $1,455, that's going to get you a brand new siren. That's going to get you, now, by the way, that's a brand new siren installed. That's going to get you training on the software. They get you new software. They get you everything you want. And now we have a new system, a new siren, the updated model. This mechanical siren you have right here was really used during the Cold War, back when the Russians were coming. And that's what that siren, that was the design of that siren. It was just a civil defense siren. It's not truly a weather siren. What we're offering you is a weather siren, because not only can it tell you that there is a tornado warning, you can activate the siren and say there's a flash flood warning in the area. This siren is going to be able to reach all the schools in the city. It's going to be able to cover that. You can put out there as a lightning detection. There's a lightning warning for this area. You can at least advise your citizens that lightning is a threat for right now. Go inside. So we use it for lightning. We use it for tornadoes, flood. You got a main highway around here. If you had a tractor trailer turnover and it's leaking chlorine, you can activate it. There's been a chemical spill in the area. Go inside. You can do all this. Plus, it has the PA capability, which means the police chief, you can have somebody wander off, a senior citizen, wander off, and you can say, we have a senior alert, and here's the description of the person that's wandered off. He's 5'9", wearing a red jacket, et cetera, et cetera. You can do that live public address. You can make that announcement. Or we've had a child walk off. Be on the lookout for a 6-year-old male in this area. You can do the same. So that it's not just a warning system. It is a communications system. The key advantage to what we offer in the cities in Alabama, Mississippi that have used our sirens and have been hit, their key was not the warning so much, but it was after they've been hit. You have a tornado come through, just like we saw last year that came up through Cookville and up right up I-40. You have a town that gets hit, you have no AC power, you have no electrical power. So your TVs are down. So what do you have? You have a radio. And you have very little communications with the citizenry. Well, where do they go? Well, we have set up shelter at the First Baptist Church. We have Red Cross is now at the Central Church of Christ. Whatever you're doing, you can let the citizens know where they can go get help after that storm, because telephone lines will be out. Cell phones won't work because it'll be jammed. It's a good thing. There's a good chance the towers could be damaged, and so they're limiting cell service. And now you have no TV, no radio. That was your only communications to the public after a storm's hit. So those are key elements as to why I think it's important to keep it. Keep it so that the citizens aren't going to ask you the question if you were to get hit. And you've been fortunate, but it's nothing geographical. It's nothing that's protecting Westmoreland that's different. Well, we're just different than other cities. You've just been lucky. And honestly, that's all it is. You've just been lucky you haven't been hit. You see an F4 come through a town, and I've seen the results of them, and it's like an atom bomb went off. It's horrible. And we saw everybody remembers last year's tornadoes up I-40. So we know the damage it can do. What I'm asking you to do is to consider this new software, and we can go even on the software, we can put together a lease option program for you for just the software, so you're not having to come up with a lot of capital gains. That's one option. The lease. The other option is community development block grants are available for sirens. So anything else we need?
And I got a couple copies of that paperwork here.
Oh, the proposals?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can leave
Might leave that with us.
Yeah.
Because we are going into budget time, so
All
you picked a good time to
Well, good.
come.
All right.
Can we ask just a couple of questions?
Yes,
from you?
sir.
I've just got one that actually, I've got two questions. Would the same pole be able to be used or is that siren that you mentioned, the WPS 2910, does it come with its own pole, or how does that work?
Well, I wouldn't use the same pole. The installation that we're proposing, that $14.55 a month, whatever,
Mhm.
that includes installing siren on a new pole.
Okay.
Now, the reason being is you put that in 2012. So that pole is really getting, it's extended.
Mhm.
The siren we have is going to be heavier. It's taller. So it's built more for a class 1, which is a straighter, heavy, it's a bigger, thicker pole than that.
Mhm.
And I don't think you want to put a new siren on an old pole trying to save $300.
Yeah. Well,
It could be
that's
done.
part of the installation then.
Yeah,
That's
it could be, but part of the
package.
installation is a new pole.
And the second question was, I'm not sure about the position of where that siren, current siren, why it was located there next to the water tower. So do you calibrate in a city square area to find the exact center point of said city for the best location? Or does it have to be on city property, or do you work with residents, private homeowners to put the siren on their property, or how does it? 'Cause I'm thinking like a Verizon tower, like a cell phone tower, but I'm sure it can't be that way. But so I assume it has to be on city property, obviously. And then if there was another piece of parcel of city property that was better suited for the siren to be exposed to the majority of the citizens, do you guys calibrate that in part of your installation?
I've looked at, and again, I've designed these for for the 30 years. And I've looked at this from a Google Earth standpoint, so it has the terrain and I understand the location of that siren right there is actually a good location.
Okay.
Now, I'll say, let me explain. Sound waves, the sirens are built, the sound goes parallel to the ground. That's the way all sirens do. They throw out their sounds in a parallel path. And so it's horizontal to, it's parallel to the ground, I should say. So it's horizontal, and sound waves don't go down, they curl up. So as the sound waves get weaker, they start rising up. So if we put something like we were to put it on top of the water tower, you'd have a donut effect, which would mean the city, the downtown part of Westmoreland would not be as covered as well as 2 miles away. That's just, that's how sound waves travel. That particular location I looked at, we drove around and I found that one. I thought that's actually good. It's up on a knoll, but it's not too high. It's so close to the city, it's going to be well covered, but it also gives us out to the school systems. It looked to me like I'm covering every school and the parks within the city with this one siren.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is based upon, we use a particular calculation developed by FEMA, and that's based upon an attenuation of sound. Real quickly, the physics of sound loses 6 dB every time you double the distance from a source. So if you hit a hammer on this table right here and it was 20 dB, and you go at 2 feet and I go 4 feet, it's going to be 6 dB less, and it keeps dropping by 6 dB. Well, we allow for environmental issues like wind, rain, humidity, things of that nature, foliage. We say you're going to lose more than 60, but you're going to lose 10. So when we calculate our range, that's using FEMA's formula, and that's encompassing the anticipation of lost sound due to trees, due to wind, due to humidity. Again, you have a tornado coming, and we have 70-mile-an-hour winds. The people northeast of here are going to hear it better than those in the southwest because the wind's just going to push it. That's why it's important to get out ahead of it when you're under that warning, to get the warnings out, before the tornado hits, getting to that point. But to answer your question, we can use that pole, just not recommend it. Since we've already calculated the price of a new one. That location's actually good. It is on city property, I assume. That benefit, because it's behind a fence, it's even better protected.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes it even better for you. Okay. Normally we'll put them at fire stations, schools, or parks. That's where we try to put them up, because trying to get citizens to let us put, or a guy who owns this parking lot across the street says, let's put siren in your parking lot. They're not keen on that. Mm-hmm. For the most part.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Well, all right. Well, we look forward to working with you. Hopefully, and again, Hartsville has this particular model that I'm proposing here. They're using it. They test it once a month. Joe's talking to them earlier. They do their testing once a month. So if you're curious of what it sounds like, you're not too far away from one right now. It's the same siren system that Middle Tennessee State University uses. Any of you who went to MTSU, you probably have heard those sirens.
One nice thing.
And I told my daughter she was at MTSU, and they would ask her, what's that siren going on? Why would they have sirens? She said, help pay for my tuition. So she always liked to hear
So in
them.
order, it's kind of like that one. I was mentioning the annual PM that we
Yeah.
maintain these sirens for you as well. You don't have to have anybody be an expert to keep it up and running. That's part of the lease agreement deal, is for us, we schedule it with you whenever the day you want it. That's the day we'll send out our technicians to come through and test it, top to bottom, and always make sure it's up and running. If something doesn't work right, say all of a sudden it starts going off for no reason, which it shouldn't, but if it does, there's no cost to it. We'll come fix it. It's all wrapped in there. So in here, this first one's that covers the MSA that covers that. Then the capital purchase of the same product. And then the next one is for the National Weather Service, the rapid warn idea that we brought up there. Got the maintenance or the MSA contract one, and then also the lease to own, or the capital purchase. Then there's a couple information about the actual sirens themselves. So like I said, there's 2 copies here. I'll be glad to email you the same copies and get as many as you need. You guys want to look them over, but I wanted to bring a couple hard ones.
If you wanted to email one from Ms. Fisher, she can get it out to all the council members.
Okay.
They can be reading it.
Yeah.
One more little quick note, the one that we're talking about putting in, that siren can be tested every day and no one would know it. It has a silent test function on it so that we can send out the commands to the siren and say, how are you doing? And it'll report back, say, hey, I'm good. I got 110 volt AC, my batteries are 48 volts. All my amplifiers and speaker drivers are working. I'm great. And you want to know that, and before tornado season starts hitting, you want to make certain it's working, but you're not disturbing the public. Now you're not bothering anybody, but you're doing that testing. And so we can do that every day, test it every day. And it's a nice thing to know, because should you do a test, in early February and say, hey, look, my batteries are dead. Well, they're either old, the battery charger could be bad, or whatever reason. We need to get MCA up here and they'll service it and get it ready for you before the tornado season starts.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Myself.
Oh,
The one in Hartsville, is it the exact model?
Yeah.
Is everything's the exact the one you're
They
proposing?
don't have the weather one. They're not using the software but the siren itself is exactly
Okay,
what we proposed here. Right. It's a WPS 2910.
all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, did you state a price on getting the software installed to operate this one? Did I miss that?
Joe have,
There should be some prices in there. There's just the software itself.
Yeah.
It should be. So that one,
I have the lease. I have the total system. I don't have just the software.
I believe that's this one right here. This is the MSA and then that's the capital. Is that right?
Okay, but this is capital, right?
That's the capital and then this is the MSA.
Yeah, okay. That's 365, 367?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it looks like the lease purchase on that is $367 a month. For the software, that's for a 5-month, that's a 5-month buyout lease. So you lease it for 5 years. But the cost is $367 a month. And that gets you the new software activation that keeps this siren operational. So we're not dumping or ditching the siren.
366 a month for 5 years.
Right, that's just the software.
Thank you.
It was $14.55 a month for the siren and the software.
Yes. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank y'all for your time. Thank you, sir.
I'm okay. Thank you. Go ahead, appreciate y'all coming.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, just for your information, I live in Lebanon. So it's not like if you got the siren and you say, well, we're having a problem. I'm only 30 miles away, so just keep that in mind. So I can be right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I understand that Ms. Jenkins is not going to be able to be here with us tonight, so I'll kind of hit on a couple of the highlights just so you'll be aware. She contacted me, I guess it's 2 or 3 weeks ago, was asking that I give her the okay to go ahead and start a mural on the side of City Hall. And I told her, I said, I don't really have the authority to do that. That would be a council decision. I think she may have sent out something, a pictograph of a butterfly or something like that. That's what the mural's about. I guess the big thing to decide is, if you don't want a butterfly, what would you want? And if you want something, what do you want and how big do you want it on the side of the building? I know other communities have done this. We have a mural down here on the Oak Well building. I understand it's already starting to fall in disrepair, so that might be some questions that you want to ask about these things. You know, if 37186 miles disbands, are we going to be keeping it up, or what are we going to do with it? So that's what the mural's about. Light up the night. When they had the Jeep show and the vendors come in last Saturday, of course, everyone knows that the weather did not cooperate real well. The library and 37186 Miles has teamed up to do a movie in the park. It'll be at Woodard Park, and they were thinking that the possibility, the first one's scheduled for, I think it's April the 10th. Do you remember what time in the afternoon? It's kind of in the evening.
Right.
I'm
not sure what.
Obviously, I guess maybe it's got to get dark before they can show a movie. But they had inquired about possibly letting the vendors come back at no charge that day, so that especially for the ones that didn't get to come at all, they might have an opportunity to come and set up prior to the show that night. So I don't think there's any conflict with any schedules, but I wanted to present that to the council and let them be aware of it. So any questions that I might can answer for you?
I got no problem with it as long as they obtain the proper permits and stuff.
Another thing on the mural, she said like if we didn't want a butterfly, she had thought about like maybe like eagle wings or something.
Is this something supposed to be like so people can take pictures and
Right.
kind of,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, you know how like Nashville's got the
I think they've
very
got a
popular
butterfly.
tourist attractions that are,
Yeah,
people flock to for Facebook pictures and things
Yeah.
of that nature. This is
I think it'd be cool to have
Essentially an
like
idea.
eagle wings because we're the
Right,
eagles.
and then she said like maybe like a saying on it, like soar high on the wings of the eagle or something, you know, just.
And she had wanted to talk to Jay about using this building, and obviously to get a photograph of it, she'd have to be in the street. So that's the reason she moved from that one to the other side. So,
well, the reason that we're starting to see progress with citizens taking action is because of people like Tammy Jenkins and others who are stepping out, creating ideas, creating things that people want to do and invest in our city. And that building isn't mine. It's everybody. It's every citizen in the city. So if they want to professionally or not professionally, but do something that is going to be well intended to put on that wall, I have got no problem at all, because that is something that the city, that people will take pride in. 37186 Smiles will take pride in, and they'll continue to venture. So I'm well in favor of something like that. I think it's a great idea.
She did mention that the Smiles group would pay the artist for their time, but they were wanting to see if they could take the money for the paint out of like the parks fund. So.
We'd have to figure out how much paint that
Right.
is, and then we can
Right.
probably, I think the artist may have to talk more about what that's going to look like, give us maybe a rendition or some sort of sketch of it, and then we can go from there, I think. So
I would like to make a proposal. What about if we open it up, because the city belongs to everyone in the community? Why don't we let the citizens submit something to City Hall that what they would like to see as well, what their suggestions might be. And of course, Ms. Jenkins would be involved in that as well. That way everybody can have an opportunity to voice what they would like to see.
If you're gonna do that, the only concern is you're gonna get some great ideas. You're gonna get several wild ideas, and there's gonna be so many that you're gonna have a hodgepodge. If you would narrow it down and put them in maybe some sort of survey order
Right,
and say, which one do you like?
right,
Do you like butterflies, eagle,
right.
whatever. And just let a survey be done to the newspaper. I don't think Tammy would object to that. Then you can narrow down what the majority of folks want.
Right.
I know when they did the one on the well building, basically the artist took care of it. The artist was commissioned to do it. I'm thinking the cost at that time was around $5,500 for that one. That one's pretty detailed. And they put all the sealer coats on the building and.
Is it this one down here?
Mhm.
Who is that artist?
Last name's Moran,
Warren,
but I can't think.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel.
He did it. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, that was pretty much just the cost of the paint.
Oh, wow.
I think he volunteered his time to do it.
He did a good job.
Okay, so I hate that Jamie couldn't be here to speak on those tonight, but that kind of gives you an idea, so.
So let's be clear to what we discussed with her. We want her to do some community outreach to get some more ideas and come back with some definitive designs for us to approve before we can say we're going to do the paint, or we're just going to.
I think we need to have a little more clarity. She might be able to come to the next, maybe she can give us a sketch or something at the next work study. Would that be reasonable for everybody? Something to look at. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, I'm not hesitating to turn it over. I think she would do a great job, but I think it would be, in the best interest for us to make sure we make the right move.
You're also gonna wanna make sure it's not copyrighted by somebody else.
So we can leave it up to her on how she does the outreach to get the citizens' input on what to do. Is that what we're saying?
Well, she needs to make a list, like
Yeah.
eagle wings, butterflies, or something else, and see what they want. And we don't need, like Doug now, we don't need to open that door wide open for all
Like
kinds
for
of.
UFOs or spaceships and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Well, I think there's about like 2,000 people in the Smiles page now, like maybe they can create like a
I think
poll
she
or
can do
something
it.
on
She can do
there
a survey easily on Facebook.
with a few options, and then whichever one gets like the most votes or something.
Maybe have a sketch put up.
Okay. Well, I just wanted us to be more clear about what we were
What do you
asking.
think about that?
I like I've seen one that says like, it was from Hartsville, but they're just looking at it and it says Hartsville, and in each letter, it has something that represents Hartsville. So like Westmoreland, what I was looking at would say Westmoreland, and it would have like the little train tunnel, it would have the water tower, it would have the Eagles, it would have some historic, like the feed mill. I'm just throwing ideas in each letter. I've seen that before, and I think that would say, it's Westmoreland, but it still represents all things. And that's just an idea, but I've seen things like that before.
That would be good. I think there's several great ideas. I mean,
Yeah, there is.
How many buildings we got, we can put some stuff on.
yeah, we could probably,
Start going around
do
town
more
and
than
putting
one.
some paint.
But I like the idea itself. I don't know. We'll figure out what we want to do.
Honestly, I didn't know how to respond, just other than it would be a council decision, so thank you for your input tonight, and we'll get that to Ms. Jenkins and see if we can't have something by the next work study. Okay, next up was the ordinance for the weather policy. That'll be coming up for second reading next time around. Is there anything that anyone is wanting to change in that policy? Obviously, you still have until the second reading to do that, but if we need to move around to that before we leave tonight, we'll get back up. Councilman Brown, you had about the HG Kirby building, some landscaping.
Yes, it's more of a proposal. The landscaping blocks, the cylinder pieces that we've got out there that are open for landscaping. I've been talking to some citizens the other day, just specifically the other day when we were out there, and I've got several folks that might be interested in partnership. They're not exactly with Tammy. I haven't spoken to Tammy Jenkins directly, so this kind of ties in with what we're talking about. But I've spoke to them, some folks that are in her committee. I'll add that, and they would be willing to help me or anyone who wanted to volunteer to actually update the landscaping with some possible more modern looking landscape pieces, small shrubbery, because those concrete blocks are such a small size. The bushes that are in there now seem to kind of outgrow themselves over the summer. And I also wanted to make sure that those bushes, I call them snowball bushes. I don't know what they're called, to be honest with you, but I want to make sure that they're not connected to a memorial for somebody, or if anybody knows or is familiar with that. I don't know how long they've been there, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't tampering with someone's memorial, or there was something connected with those bushes that in remembrance of somebody. I didn't want to do that. So I'm actually asking for a proposal / permission to take that on, that possibility on. And then I would obviously give some more pictures and things that you guys could approve of before I went forward with it. And you can see exactly what I had in mind. I don't have that tonight, but first I wanted to get the green light to maybe begin to look into doing that. I don't think that it's going to require any money from the city because I'm willing to donate, like I said, the small part. And I think I'll get Tammy on board. The Custers, who have done a great job decorating the Rock building, the bunny ears and the bunny feet sticking out. You see what they did, and they did a great job, but then you kind of see that overbrush and the overgrowth of the two landscape areas right out here. So just proposing to make a new look of that, to get some more modernistic landscaping in there. Maybe instead of a mulch or something, maybe do rock, small pebble rock. I put it in my front landscaping over last summer, and Wyatt Carter came and did it, and he did a great job. But something like that is what I've kind of had in mind. And I just wanted to know if, first of all, if those bushes were, again, in remembrance of somebody. If they're not, if they can be pulled out. If you feel like I need to transplant them somewhere, I'm willing to do that. But I think the small group that I'm talking to might be willing to help me with all of that.
Okay, just not to my knowledge, were any of those put in for a memorial. Actually, when the area was made handicapped accessible, the contractors that did that work put those in. I had thought mistakenly at one time that Ted and Roger put those in when we were trying to work to help beautify downtown Westmoreland. But I found out later from Ms. Carter that those were put in when they did the remodel. So there's nothing standing in the way of that. I know a lot of citizens, have liked those,
Mm.
but you're 100% correct. They're really a big bush for such a small area. And this time of year, honestly, it's pretty scrappy looking.
Does anyone have any issue with me,
I'm good with that.
just looking into that? I haven't got a confirmation on everybody that I spoke to. Again, this is a small group, and but I think that if I approach them with our blessing from the city, saying we can green light it, I will present next work study some actual photographs of what I think would look well in that small area. And I'm no landscaping expert, I promise. I'm not trying to be, but just I wanted to devote some time just to make it look better. Since we've got the initiative going with 3718 Smiles, I felt like I just want to contribute. So I was basically getting permission and a green light to kind of just look into that, if everybody's okay with that.
I don't know if we need to wait till next work study because we need to be doing it now this time of year.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm perfectly okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you all.
You might could email us out something so we'll know,
Yeah.
in case somebody asks us what we're doing,
Right.
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Sounds
I
good.
appreciate you bringing that up. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
The traffic mirror for Austin P Highway.
Yes, sir. This is the last one was a proposal. This one is actually just a inquisitive concern. Talked to another citizen, and this is something that I have wondered if it would benefit that area. As you pull out from Sumner Drive to the end of Austin P, if you look to the left of Austin P, there's a little bit of a hill there. Of course, I think the gentleman spoke about that berm right there where the water tower and everything is, so that the natural landscape flows down. And what happens is a lot of times I've pulled out, my father lives on North First Street, so I'll take that road that cuts right there next to the water tower, and I forgot the name of it, of that road.
Kelly Boulevard.
Yeah, Kelly. And so a lot of times what will happen when I turn left off of Sumner Drive, I'm blind for a moment, and I have had several cars, and I was actually hoping Chief Jolly was here because I was going to actually ask to see if there's been any incidents.
He's actually online.
Oh, okay. Is he?
There he is.
To,
Can we have-
to maybe,
Is he really there though?
yeah, to maybe see if he can look up some past incidents that have occurred there, if there has been any in there. Oh, there has?
There
Okay.
has, because my neighbor's daughter actually got hit there
Oh, okay.
and totaled her car out.
So what I'm inquiring about is, and again, I didn't bring any prices. I haven't looked at these yet, and I don't even know where to begin because I'm hoping to get some beginning spots started. But a traffic mirror that would be placed so that a driver approaching Austin P can look to their left or see in the mirror, showing them the possibility of the blind side being open for them for their viewing. There's not an issue with turning on the right-hand side, obviously, on Austin P because you're going downhill, you can see clearly. But there has been a couple of occasions where I've turned right and someone's popping up that hill pretty quickly again. So I was just wondering if that is something that we have had. It sounds like we've had some issues, but I would like to, inquire about the possibility of a two-way mirror right there on the other side of that Austin P on that road. I assume that the city has some leeway. What do you call that?
Right
Road
away.
Right away.
right away in order to put a pole with a large mirror so that it can be tilted at an angle. And again, all that would have to be installed professionally, I assume, to be sure that it's not, that we wouldn't get into any litigation and things of that nature. So I'm unfamiliar with this territory. I would just kind of putting the idea out there to begin thinking if that's even a possibility.
I know when we checked on the one for Henry Harris Road, our insurance folks told us that once we put it up, that we were responsible to make sure it was kept up.
Mhm.
If you want to see those, just right out to Henry Harris Road.
Okay.
Basically, I think you top that first hill, it's on the right side of the road there, and you can kind of see Aaron and his crew installed that one.
Oh, good.
So that'll give you an idea, and
Yes.
he's, I'm not sure that one's gonna be the size of what we would need over there, and you may even need something maybe with a little different, parabolic, nature to it, or
Mhm.
some other
I
shape.
wanna know
to help.
what the sun does right there too, that it's
Well,
not gonna
and
hit that and
yeah,
blind somebody
it's
coming up.
True.
That
Just a
was
thought.
something I was thinking about well, even in the afternoon, I wasn't thinking about coming up, but in the afternoon, it's a nightmare.
Mhm.
No, I'm not saying, well, something needs to be there, because I will
Well,
go around all the way around town to avoid having to turn left over there.
Yeah, and I've been in municipalities and seen, and we probably all have, where the two-way mirror or the traffic mirror is tilted at an angle and high enough where that the sun
Yeah.
doesn't reflect into.
Right.
And again, this is all has to be done with some sort of,
Engineering of
professional,
some
yeah,
kind, yeah.
engineer. Mhm.
Yeah, and it might be something we need to have them to look at.
Okay.
Of course, they might recommend a traffic light or a caution light or a three-way stop or anything else there. But
Would that be something that GNRC could help us look into?
no, it'd probably be engineering firm.
Our engineering firm?
Mayor, can we ask Chief Jolly, his input on it and how many accidents he knows of that has happened there?
Yeah, if he's on, just
Chief Jolly, you with us? I can.
I apologize. Can you hear me?
There he is.
Chief Jolly. Hey, this is Councilman Brown. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good. Hey, we were just talking about the possibility of looking at a traffic mirror on Austin P Highway as you come off of Sumner Drive. And we were wondering,
Right.
if you could go back and look through the records to see how many traffic incidents have occurred there in, say, the past maybe a couple of years or 3 years, something like that.
Yes, that'd be no problem at all. I could get that information for you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
That's it.
And
Thank
I
you.
got one more question. If we did go with that, maybe it's something we need to talk later on, where would that money come from in the budget?
it would have to come out of straight.
Okay.
Okay. Good question. I don't even know how expensive these things are.
Well, we do have like budget time coming up, so we may have to wait till we got the new budget, but
Okay. Next item is the IDB appointments. It has David's name by it, but Ms. Head was one that asked me to be deferred, so we can discuss that now. I know Mr. Hunt is here. You had said to Keisha when she sent the information out to us that it was for 7-year terms. And I got to looking and they would be 6-year terms.
Okay.
If there's not a 7-year term. But if you're looking for them to fill Mr. Reagan and Mr. Little's term, their term ends December of this year, according to the paperwork that I have.
A person just like Andy and others, in a lot of cases for their term has expired, unless someone is appointed to take their place, they remain themselves. And that's what's happening.
And that's pretty much the way everything is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's difficult to get anybody to serve.
Exactly, and we could, we have the same thing, we could reappoint the city attorney, the recorder, the judge, all those reappointments, each year are on a floating cycle.
Yeah.
So as long as people are willing to serve, since I've been mayor, I have not really pushed that as much. The first year or two, I asked about it and everyone said they were in agreement with it. So, most of the time we do just like we do here now when Jeff and Brett has let, now I know Brett moved out of the city, so he's no longer eligible to serve.
That's correct.
Jeff, Mr. Reagan, I wasn't aware he was stepping down at all.
Has he submitted his letter of resignation?
Haven't seen it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he hasn't done it. But
No, okay. I'll cover that in a second. But anyway,
I think the email I got today, their terms in 12/20/23.
That's what I got as well.
okay, the one I have. Let's see.
It was from Mr. Andy Lee today, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, with this one ending in 23 was Mary Gail Anderson. So this was one that was submitted back when they were working to do the Clayton supply. The attorney had to have a list, and this was what was sent out at that time.
You know what that date is?
If you look at the resolution
Has that.
that was passed,
August.
August
19th.
2019, there was 3 terms ended 2023, and that was Reagan, Little, and Anderson.
so I think mine probably,
Yours is at the end of this year, yes.
Yes.
this year.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a couple points. A month ago, I came before the council to recommend the appointment of 2 members, both Frida Carter and Tony Bennell, to the industrial board. And the way it has worked in the past, the industrial board tries to find qualified individuals, selects them, and then brings them to the council. And then the council in the past has pretty much automatically approved them. In the 10 years that I know of on the industrial board, we have never had anybody deferred or refused appointment. So as a member of the industrial board, we don't understand, why their appointment was deferred. And some of you all, I know Brian and David and the mayor have been pretty diligent in attending our meetings, so you kind of see what goes on. But the state requires an industrial board to have 7 members. We have 6. And as the mayor said, we had one move out of the city. And Jeff Reagan is currently our secretary treasurer. And as soon as we get a replacement, he's where we can come up to our full 7. He's going to resign. So, as you probably know, Reese Mule Farms, they're moving their sales to Lebanon. And my understanding, they're not really happy about it. But they had a lease where currently they were using the facility 3 weekends a year and had about 80,000 square feet tied up. So, and this was a contract that goes back to 2010. So they're moving. So it's imperative now that the industrial board finds someone to lease that property once it's cleared out from all the mule farm implements. So we will be making $12,000 less. I mean, that's how much they pay a year, $4,000 per sale. So we will be losing that till we get somebody in there. And currently Wilson, we're leasing it at $3 a square foot. And I think for the first year, we were actually barely in the black, and that's because of Wilson. So in the last 5 years, the industrial board, in conjunction with the council and city, we have brought in, or been instrumental in bringing in Wilson Lumber, Long Ago Lumber, and Clayton. So the city now does have some industrial base, which we didn't have 5 years ago. And when we look at Frida, Carter, and Tony, you know, we have never had more qualified people volunteer for the industrial board. It is difficult. One of the items on our meeting every quarter is who could we get? 9 would be the ideal number where you could rotate 2 off each year. But it is just difficult to get people to volunteer to be on a board. So anyway, most of you, or some of you, may be aware of these two people's qualifications. But if you're not, I'm going to read them to you. So with Frida, she served on the city council. She was 7 years city recorder. She was accountant for Fleetwood Mobile Homes. And she was instrumental in getting a USDA grant of the industrial board. This grant was necessary to build a wall where we could get Wilson in to separate it from the Mule area. So without that, we would not have Wilson. With Tony, he was actually chairman of the industrial board for 5 years. He serves on the Tri-County board. And I spent a couple hours over at Wilson yesterday talking to Jackie Crutcher. And Tony was instrumental in getting the power hookup to their equipment over there. They were struggling to get all the power to the facility needed for their equipment. And he was instrumental in that. You know, he served on the city council for 4 years. He served on the industrial board as secretary of treasurer, and he currently serves on the Sumner Economic Development Board. And just on a personal note, I've been over there at 7 in the morning before Wilson came in, and Tony and I were weed eating the area where it would look presentable when they came to inspect the area. So as you know, he's pretty much a go-getter. But when I look at these qualifications, you know, if these two people aren't qualified, you know, I'm not qualified, Larry's not qualified. I mean, we've never had 2 people more qualified than these, and that's why we were confused with the deferment. So again, what I'm asking is the city go ahead and appoint these 2 people so we can get to work. We could not sign a contract now to lease out that area until we get at least 1 more person on the board. I mean, it's instrumental that we get 7 people. And anyway, I just wanted to bring that up for the council because some of this you may or may not know. So any questions?
Anybody, anything to say?
You go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I want to go ahead, Brian.
Well, I made a few notes and so I could talk about it and have my thoughts together. You mentioned that in the past, council had took names and from the recommendations and done this and accepted whoever done it. Well, in recent times, since I've come back to the council, I've realized anytime we give someone a job or make an appointment to a committee or a board, and that person's not been in the room to understand what's being asked of them to do, we've fell on our face and made mistakes and had to revisit those situations. And I just assumed that Mr. Bell and Ms. Carter would come to the meeting to be able to speak for themselves about what was being asked of them to serve in that regard. So, and that did not happen. And I didn't feel like we were under a time crunch, but now you've said we were, because we do need that person. I understand that. And I didn't really realize that at the time. So that was my point. We're not in a hurry. They meet once a quarter. They're not meeting monthly. They're not meeting twice a month like we do. I attended the last meeting of the board in January, and a lot of the things he's discussing we're not on an official agenda. And you mentioned this, and you mentioned it in so many ways, but I'll elaborate. When Ms. Carter found out that that the meeting was, that it was deferred to this meeting to discuss, she made a phone call and talked to me about how upset she was about us deferring this and wanted to know the reasons why. Well, there was a comments made about that we needed to do the research and read the rules and the bylaws. Well, I went searching out the rules and the bylaws, and apparently they don't have bylaws.
Mhm.
They just operate under the state law, which Andy provided in the email today, which doesn't cover this. Okay. Now, that being said, with the experience that I have sitting here, I also know that if you're a board that serves as an arm of the city, you operate under the same rules that we do. Now, if we were to have a vacancy and we didn't have a meeting to declare that vacancy, and we just come in and say, well, we want to put John Doe on the board, we'd be breaking our own rules. And they have not had a meeting. They did say at the last meeting they had one position and we were going to do two. And then it comes to us that they have a second position that's not even, like I said, it's not even been addressed at their meetings.
So it wasn't discussed.
It was not discussed. I was
The reason it wasn't discussed at that time, Jeff Reagan had not even considered retire or
Well,
resign.
That's what I said. I understand that. But if that had been our committee, we would have had to have met
Mhm.
and discussed that we had the vacancy and all the behind the scenes discussion, which you've talked about, we're not allowed to do. So when I said I wanted to step back and take that extra amount of time to make sure we were doing it correctly, that's what I'm in reference to.
So are we going to, when they appoint somebody to the planning and zoning, are we gonna bring them in here and we're gonna interview them?
Well, that's what I said. I realize we have made mistakes
We don't do
by
that,
not doing so,
but we don't do that.
but we need to.
Where does it say we can have to do that?
Well, I'm just saying that if we're going to appoint people to positions and we're going to hire people, they need to
Well,
come.
we're trusting the ID people because they've done an outstanding job. They're not gonna recommend somebody that's not qualified to do that.
Okay, I understand that. But also at the same time, speaking with Ms. Carter, I asked her if she was aware of what I was being given the information at the time, that it was a 7-year commitment.
Mhm.
She had no idea the term that she would be serving on that board. That discussion had never took place.
Well, it's not a 7 years, it's a 6 year.
Well, she had no idea. And that's concerning to me, that we would appoint someone to a position and they wouldn't even know how long they were expected to serve.
I don't think that's a real big problem myself. You know, if they get 4 years down the road and get sick or don't want it no more, all they gotta do is resign.
And that's what's happened in the past, where we've had quite a bit of turnover, except for a few of us. And for Tony, when you ask about, you want to interview him for qualification, he's been chairman for 5 years. He also served at the same time I did. He came in at the same time I did, I'm gonna guess around 2015. And he served as their secretary of treasurer till he got the position on the council. As far as Frida, I'll let her speak for herself. She wants to about qualification.
I spoke with the industrial
Okay.
board and you all made your recommendation.
I mean, we were tickled to death to get 2 people that's qualified. As hard as it is to get anybody to serve on the board that can go in already familiar with what we do. You know, when I was assigned, I didn't even know what the industrial board was. And I was like probably a lot of citizens in town, why don't we have any industry in Westmoreland? At that time, we didn't have any. And then you get on the board and you start finding out, well, we don't have natural gas. We buy our water from Gallatin. We've got an undersized sewage plant. So any kind of industrial process that use water, we're out. So someone like Fleetwood or Clayton or Long Ago Lumber are pretty much our only options. And, you know, I try to go over to Wilson once a week, talk to Jackie and try to be the liaison between the city and then it's what needs to be done or the different problems we have, order their propane. And my understanding there is, they're still doing quite well over there, although they have moved to another facility to Alabama. And from what Jackie told me, the Clayton has not had an impact on their work, which kind of surprised me. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that as hard as it is to get people to serve, and we've got 2 extremely qualified people. And if we're doing it wrong now, we've done it wrong for 10 years.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing the qualifications of the 2 you're bringing. I'm not. I just had a question of how can we, as a city, try to get people involved with you? Because I think some people don't know you exist. That's coming from the younger generation of Westmoreland of, I wouldn't really know it was existing if I wasn't sitting here. So how can we help push people toward y'all to maybe get more people
I mean,
involved?
the industrial board recommends, but if the council finds somebody that they think would work well, you need people that work well together. And right now, all of us really do. So we would have to have that. And the majority of us are not of the newer generation, I guess would be the polite way.
Well, I'm just saying from the younger, like I came to the council because we need our younger generation to start stepping in.
You're right.
So I would like to be able to find a way to push and give them to, maybe you can find people that would work well that are younger.
Well, I would say if somebody has a person that they think would work well, come to Andy or myself, and then we will sit down and talk to them. It's not a bad idea to have people come in if you can get them, but in this case, we've got 2 highly qualified people that have worked on the council, that have worked with for the city. So to me, that was a moot point.
I understand it's hard work and I appreciate everything y'all done. But I just didn't think it was responsible to appoint 2 people to a committee that you spoke to them, you know they're interested.
Yes.
But even in my phone conversation with Ms. Carter, I never once heard a word about, I'd be delighted to serve. I'd be appreciated to serve. They've got a lot going on. I want to participate. I want to help them move forward. It was just like, well, if you don't want me, I don't have to do it.
I'll step aside was what was mentioned to me.
So-
I'll step aside.
That's concerning to me.
Well, as Chandler said, it would be good to have a mix. But it's also good to have retirees like myself and Larry and Frida, that we've got more free time to go over there. And I went over yesterday with a guy looking at a drainage problem at Wilson. And it's good that they can call somebody like that now. Andy and some of those like Jeff works at Cracker Barrel in Lebanon. And the guy that moved out of town, my understanding, he works in Clarksville. I mean, they're not available on a daily basis. And I get calls in the night that the alarm system is malfunctioning. And then we go through that. So it's pretty important to have a good mix of young and old. And I don't know who's the youngest one on our group. We don't have any really young people.
I would guess Jeff would be.
Jeff would be now, because Brett would have been before Jeff.
Mary Gale's mine.
Yeah, because Brett's just a couple years older than me.
Yeah, I did at one time approach Adam Borders, which he's kind of in that middle range. And he showed a little interest, but I think he's changed his mind. Any other questions?
I got a question, Mr. Hunt, and I appreciate you coming forward and speaking to us again. One question about Mr. Bennell. The email that I read said when he was on the board and then he ran for a council seat, he had to step aside because he was elected. He is on the Tri-County Board. He is the vice president of the Tri-County Board. That is elected position. It is voted by the citizens of this community. So is that not a conflict of interest?
No, it's not.
No, that, if it wasn't for Tony, Wilson Lumber would have been delayed who knows how long in getting their production up. I don't see that as a conflict at all.
It's just a question. I didn't know. Because I mean, when you read the email, the way I took it, he had to step aside because it was elected position before. I didn't know if Tri-County was still saying, because these citizens did vote who they would
But I
like.
think because IDB is part of the city,
City.
it was
Yeah,
when he was
city
city
You
elected.
could not serve
Okay.
on the city council and the IDB at the same time.
Okay. And then, do you happen to know who you have in mind to be your treasurer?
Well,
Now, in my opinion, that's an internal issue.
I'm just asking a question. I just didn't know if they had
that's
somebody in mind.
internal, but both of the new, when they're appointed, I mean, Frida was an accountant. Tony was secretary treasurer for 3 years. So there you go. I'm not gonna volunteer for it.
So if there are other citizens that has reached out to me that would like to have the opportunity to be on your board, I just send them to you or Mr. Andy Lee.
I think that would probably be the best thing, because we would have to sit down and talk to them, be sure they're interested. Because most people don't, a lot of people probably don't know we even have an industrial board.
Do you have anything in writing that says what qualifies you? Is there certain qualifications a citizen has to have to qualify them to be on the board?
To my knowledge, there's not.
Mr.
But
Hudson,
live in the city.
Yeah, you do have to live in.
Now, you got to own property in the city.
And own property. You
Don't have to
don't,
live
you don't have to
It says,
live.
how's it stated, an elector and taxpayer?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can own property in the city. So Mr. Brown, did you have a
yes, sir.
question?
I was just gonna first make a comment that I think the two candidates that you have asked to be on the board are fine quality candidates. There's no doubt in my mind. My question is is not even related to that. My question is when you advertise for the meetings, looking back for 2 years prior to me being on this, I didn't have knowledge of IDB boards meetings. How do you guys advertise or is that open to the public? Obviously it is.
Yeah, it's open to the
Okay.
public, and
Okay.
typically it's at the post office and in the newspaper.
It comes out in the newspaper.
Comes out in the
Newspaper,
newspaper.
okay.
And we would welcome anybody that wants to come to get input.
And on the city Facebook page, the city
Okay,
hall,
good,
she
good.
posts it.
And there's also, on our board in City Hall, the dates for the entire year.
When do y'all meet, Mr. Hunt?
Oh, it's currently the third Monday of the first month of the quarter. We did at one time meet on a monthly basis. And then once Wilson came in, which was a major undertaking, we've gone to quarterly. But we do have call meetings as needed, and we have had those from time to time.
Is it posted on the Facebook page when the meeting is?
Yes,
Okay.
Andy usually emails me, and if it's like via Zoom, he sends me the link and everything, and it gets posted on the city page.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I had
Motion.
two citizens that contacted me, wanted to express an interest in it. I think probably most everyone heard Mr. Klein when he was here. He said he had to leave for another appointment, but he wanted to express an interest in serving on the IDB. And also Miss Caroline Moss had called and expressed an interest, said that she wasn't able to be here tonight because of sickness, but she did plan on coming to the regular meeting and speaking during public comments.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure that there are probably a lot, I've had several people that have been interested in the economic development in the last few weeks that have contacted me since Christmas. So I think coronavirus has got a lot of people thinking. They've had a lot of time on their hands being home to think, and they're looking for more ways to serve. So I believe I can give them your number now and direct them towards you, and let them come to a couple of your meetings and see if they're interested in that. Because you had said at your last meeting you'd like to get that with 9 or 10 members so that you could actually start
A rotation.
get in a rotation.
And we certainly, welcome them if they want to come to our meeting and express their desire to the whole board.
Mr. Lee, did you have something?
I'd like to apologize to the IDB board for the way this council done it last time. There's no reason for that. The IDB board has brought in probably 250 jobs with Clayton Homes, Wilson, and Lumbergo Lumber that wasn't here before y'all got on the board. So I'm gonna say that that we put Tony and Frida back on the agenda for next month at the recommendation of IDB board to be a member.
I just want to say that no disrespect with men. I just know that, as you said, y'all provided jobs and things to the community. But as a responsibility to this citizen and the taxpayers, we provide $50,000 a year to their committee to function. And I felt like it just needed a little bit more discussion.
And that's the way the contract was drew up, but we've never done that before. We don't do it with other committees. If we're going to do that, we need to establish something.
Well,
We shouldn't
exactly.
have done it that night.
Well, at the previous meetings, we'd had discussions about appointing people and not having them here.
Mhm.
That you were on the computer. If you couldn't hear, I apologize for that.
Whether you agree or disagree with the past, that's good.
All
So
can
if
do
we
now
get
is move
those
forward.
two on the board, we'll be up fully functional. Jeff will be able to retire and go play with his kids.
Do we need to up the chairman's spot since he's noted that it had expired?
There's probably more than one that's expired.
Well,
Himself and Miss Robertson.
I mean, they can look, but typically they've just rolled over unless we find a replacement.
I have one more question. So will they serve 6 years or will they serve to 2023?
They're going on there to fill these terms, 2023. Then at that time, if they want to roll on over, they can.
You've got that option.
Okay.
And just from my past experience, a lot of people don't make 6 years. Listen, I appreciate your all's attention.
I'm
Thank you.
surprised Andy's rolled over as busy as he is. But he
Well,
does a good job.
and that's why I'm here instead of Andy.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of irons in the fire. But Andy has been instrumental in getting industry back in Westport. Appreciate his hard work.
One more thing, Mr. Hunt. This has been informative, and I wonder if the IDB would be interested in maybe coming once a quarter to, or not, I don't think once a month is required, but and I know that Andy, when he was on, he did a good job of kind of giving us some updates and things of that nature on the IDB. And maybe it's just an email, continue the emails. All I'm saying is continue the transparency with the council. Because I've enjoyed just hearing you guys explain some of the things that I'm unfamiliar with, and that's
Right.
my fault because I'm not participating and actually attending the meetings. But I would like to have some more of the conversation going between the council and IDB. I would like that.
And I'd be happy if you want to come over one day and
Yeah.
we'll go over to the so-called Expo Center
Mm-hmm.
and talk to Wilson and look through the mule cell area and how big an area that is. And there's a whole lot of work to do to get that cleared out.
Is there going to be some expense involved in that?
Well, not on our part.
Because they've got it
To
out.
get it cleared out. Yeah, I mean, you brought a good point, Brian. And before a separate industrial firm would move in, I'm sure they would want updated heaters. And the doors, some have been repaired, some are not in too good a shape. I've got a few small leaks, but I mean, how old is that plant? It's 70s, 60s. So it's an old plant that constantly needs repair. We spent $14,000 on a roof that still leaks. I've got a work request in for a plumber on some of the restroom facilities. What else? It seems like there's always some kind of expense. We've got to pay for the person to come in and do the fire extinguisher inspection and also check the sprinkler system, which is done on a yearly basis. There's always something that needs to be done. And Reese, although, you know, they have been good, Lisa, they pay, and they're good people. That has a company that's what, 100 years old. But now we could not, when they cut back from 5 sales a year to 3, I mean, $12,000 doesn't even pay the utilities. And, you know, it's just a difficult situation. And I bet when it's all said and done, they'll find Lebanon a whole lot better place. Because if you go to one of the meal sales, they're pretty interesting.
Yep. Yeah, I believe they'll find it more.
I do
accommodating
too. I mean,
there.
they keep the temperature in the January sale at 41. You know, and that's probably about as high as it could get it if it's really cold. But now they've been good people to work with. But it's just that when they signed their contract, there was a different vision for the whole facility. And about 6 years ago, the vision changed from an exposition center to light industrial, which wasn't a real easy process. And so now, if we can find somebody to come in, hopefully we would get where the city is totally out of the finance on that. You know, if we had somebody leasing the same amount of footage that Wilson does, we could probably cover the whole thing.
And I know from inside position that is their goal, to get the city off of that payment.
Yeah, that's, and we've had to borrow money before Wilson came to pay for propane, to pay for all these different things. And now that we've pretty much got all that paid off, you know, we're in a lot better financial shape as long as Wilson maintains their presence. But again, I appreciate the opportunity to.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Hunt, what happened to MP Fabricating? They just closed?
It's a difficult, well, I'll just give you my perception. It's difficult, it's difficult for a one-man fabrication operation to start up in the middle of a pandemic. And I understand he's moved back to Finland. And
he was from Europe
he, he was from Finland.
and he married a lady that lived in Hartsville or somewhere like that.
Yeah, he spoke better English than I do.
Let me say this, and my wife told me to keep my mouth shut, I'll be honest with you. But if you folks were looking for somebody to drive an 18-wheeler from here to California once a week for the next foreseeable future, you probably want to flag down somebody that runs the Walmart semis that run 31 here instead of hiring me that drives a Toyota pickup truck around town, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we have to look at as well. And Brian said that before you hire somebody, I didn't come before the council when I was appointed, and I missed my paychecks for 5 years, Brian. I hadn't got one. So, but I mean, when you have two people extremely qualified that can come in and, you know, from day one, you don't have to train them. They know they've done it before. They're experts at it, per se. And I find it real unfair to bring somebody before the council. I mean, now I understand it's the council's decision, and we make the recommendations like Bill said, the council appoints. I got it. I get it. But I'm not sure that person has to come and be drilled in the meetings if they come recommended that way and they got qualifications. I don't think, did you come before the council, Bill?
No.
I didn't. So don't tell my wife that I said it. But I mean what I said about the semi driver. You wouldn't want me to put me in an 18-wheeler and send me to California. Because I wouldn't know how to do it. I'm not qualified. We know these two people could step right in from day one, help us, and to be a benefit to the city and to this council.
Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. Okay, the next item is new hires for Public Works, and I was hoping Aaron would be able to get both of these gentlemen here so you could meet them
Thank you.
tonight. So obviously, that's not going to happen. I know he conducted interviews. I was not able to attend, so he had Chris Carter sit in with them. And I haven't heard how the interviews went, but I know that Aaron was very excited about them too. He hadn't tuned in or anything, has he?
I haven't heard from him since we started.
Okay. So I guess that one will be,
And I think he will have 2 people on the agenda to vote for. One of them actually, he put them on last week. And then the other one, he's supposed to start on the 12th. So not this coming Monday, but the following. Because he had to give his 2 weeks at his other job.
yeah, and I expressed to him to make sure that they knew that they weren't officially hired until the council voted on it, so. If they wanted to take that kind of chance, the job wouldn't be going anywhere, but it was totally up to them, so.
Can you send word for him that if they could possibly come and just introduce themselves so that if they have any questions of us, that they'll be able to ask them at that time.
Chief, would you like to come up and?
For February, I don't know if I got that to you or not, so I don't have March and February yet. Yeah, I kept it.
Same one. Keep rolling.
Same one.
Yeah.
I've done a budget request. I've asked for a lot this time, but
I like that you've already put in line items and everything. Like you told us where it's gonna go.
yeah, well, that's the way your line items are. So,
Yes, I know.
Now, some of these items, the data process, so I just put what's
I
on
know.
for last year. I have no idea what we're doing there, all the expense and all that, but some of the other things.
Are any of these numbers, are you gonna go through you don't have to do that, but are you gonna tell us which numbers are changing? Which of these dollar signs are gonna be different from the previous budget? Mark?
Yes, up here at the top, I've got that asterisk there.
Oh, the asterisk, I got you.
Says additions or requested changes.
So everything else is the same.
Everything else is the same.
Okay.
As last year.
So does that go
Some
up?
of it may have to be changed.
Does that one go, the radio 216 radio expense, is that going up
Yes.
from what? I don't have my budget.
$1,600.
Okay.
Purchase at least 2 additional. Right up this. That line out 780, I just had some background checks. We've been doing some background checks. It's hard to get it done through the PD. And we get better background through City Hall. Do y'all go through Workforce Essentials?
Yes.
So I think we need to do that. So I just added that there. We didn't have as many testing, drug testing, and medical expenses as I thought we would for this year, probably because of COVID. We don't have as many applications but we got additional 3 now. We have 21 members now, 3 applications. So
And then 961, what did that change from? The replacing of,
well, we was gonna, last year, it's supposed to be changed to replace the education equipment. I don't think we gotta change it. It stayed on PPE, but now it's changed, I think. in the future. So I don't think we can get the 12,000 I will be spending this year.
okay,
Before the end of the budget. So I don't think we're gonna be able to get everything we need with that 12,000.
okay, so that's why you have this here.
So I want additional for next year. And we're also gonna have to replace our helmets this upcoming year, so I added 3 more thousand for that.
Have the radios been programmed?
We're working on that now. Talked to them 2 times this week, so it's,
The existing system, will that be phased out and the expenses incurred? Would that go away, or will that be a backup system? Or?
eventually, yeah, because we won't be able to keep up the radios that go with that system.
Okay.
It's a high band system, and what we're going to, what the digital is a ultra high band.
Were those type of expenses in the budget?
The cost of that, right? On the maintenance part,
There is, and,
maybe we should.
yeah, it's gonna be divided out. The ECC, I guess, is, taking part of that on, or they're discussing it at least once. Because, it's what, about $140,000 maintenance? I can't remember offhand. It's a lot of maintenance to undertake it. Like, for example, the ECC opened up, 2017, July 14th, 15th, 2017. 911 is replacing all of their equipment this year. It's 5 years old, so it's considered now to be outdated. So there's a lot of expense in that building down there.
Are they paying some of the current radio expense that we won't have to pay, or?
No, I think we will have to pay it up to how many units we have on the system.
Okay.
And I do have an email that we probably should look at that for the budget.
Yeah, actually, they don't have it narrowed down yet. We've already had two meetings on budget issues. The way that it's looking, we probably won't have firm numbers out of there until May. So.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be an expense.
Now, can you talk to I had a phone call with you about it, but can you talk to the whole committee about the funding from Sumner County?
Yes, there will be a meeting on Monday. Up to Terry Wright. He's our Admiral Taylor. He's our other commissioner. So he's going to be the mayor to come down on Monday.
Is it their committee?
It's an emergency services meeting.
Okay, what time is that meeting?
It's at 5:00.
Is it only to y'all, or can the council come?
I think it's an open meeting.
Yeah, their committee meetings are open.
What day, what committee?
This coming Monday?
Monday night,
5 p.m.
5:00.
Monday. Where is it located? The meeting?
I call that building the Taj Mahal.
Oh, okay.
What the
Okay, I know what you're
county
getting at.
did.
It's where they have the county commissioner meeting.
Oh,
Okay, I know what
yes.
you're. 'Cause I've been-
And y'all do understand what he's talking about, right?
I do.
They're trying to manipulate some of the funding.
Take all the funding. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got this funded ever since, it's been 40 years or more. So
Have they explained why they're,
Yeah, because they're saying that we're not a nonprofit. What they're talking about is like a 501c3. And that is like Southeast, they are a nonprofit. They're not associated with a city. So it's that type of nonprofit. But the city is nonprofit, but
Yeah.
we're a government nonprofit. So
You don't foresee any of these problems with Macon County? Have they already confirmed that theirs would be the same or?
yeah, no, we're good with that. I say we're good until we want to change it or they won't change it.
And you started training back, right? With your
Yes, we have. We have. Time we can train and not go to calls during trainings. But after the last 2 training sessions.
I got 2 questions.
Okay.
One, I know that Portland sells, I think it's the fire department that does it. They sell the little signs that the citizens come by that has the numbers on them and they come out and put them up. Can we do that or do we do that?
We do.
Yes, you have an orange stick you can have for,
How can we
I
get
want to say
information?
35.
How much?
35, is it 35? I did that just recently. Yes, they sell them.
Oh, see, I have no idea. I've had people
I know
that
this.
ask, you know, I have no idea. So how do we get that information so we can give it out to the public?
How does the people get it? They can call City Hall and give us your address.
And then we pay City Hall or,
At City Hall.
okay. And my other question was, I've seen recently on Facebook that one fire station, I don't want to quote it off because I don't really remember which one it was, but it was Sumner County. I remember that. They did like a pancake fundraiser here recently. Have y'all thought about doing some kind of fundraiser to raise some money?
Well, we,
Y'all were doing the pictures before
we're
COVID, though,
doing the picture. Yeah.
and COVID happened.
Well,
No, that quit many years.
we quit before that,
Oh, you
because we
did?
couldn't get anybody to do it.
Oh.
So then we done the subscriptions, and then we done the roadblock. And that takes few people to do that,
Right.
because when you ask these volunteers to go to fire calls, go to training, and then raise their own money, you know, there's.
Are you sending out flyers pretty soon? Donation flyers pretty soon?
I didn't do that this year because of COVID. So
No, I'm talking about now, this year.
I'm gonna pick it up for next. Yes, for this upcoming year. I didn't do it last year.
Now, is that gonna be the company that get a certain percentage of what they sent out, or is it just gonna be y'all to send them out? And we get
No,
the
it'll
whole,
just be us, yeah.
okay, so the
We
city,
pay to have them sent out.
but they
Do
don't,
the design and all that, and carry the post office.
so they don't get a, how much is that cost or percentage they get for doing that?
Just think the last time.
Anymore.
Yeah, it costs us $1,200.
1,200?
Like about that 8,000.
Okay.
Big task. I mean, I can see why you probably third party that, contract that out, if you will. Because it'd take you more volunteers to get that done, to get it done right.
Right.
Do they put it on a printed, do they use their own documents or do you come up with all that?
We've done it a couple different ways. They put in the envelopes last time, I think. So, we have done just a fold up card. It's just, we can do it the cheapest that
Yeah.
year. So,
Makes sense, right.
You heard the proposal about the tornado sirens. Do you have any input you want to add to what we learned?
We've got a lot of weather notification devices, right? You know, we do. You know, I don't know, there's a lot, I don't know, you know, he says it's gonna notify the weather service. Well, is that gonna be a charge for that or the software? Y'all know, anytime you get a software, it's gotta be up there. That's what I look at, overall price. And what are we gonna do? We got Code Red, which I done a training on the other day, and I still don't know how to operate it.
What is Code Red?
There's an notification device that comes with the phone.
So
We're paying for it, right?
We are paying for
Yeah.
You know, that's what we should use
You get a
that.
text message that tells you
it, like your.
if you're in an area that's got something going on.
Oh, that Code Red?
Yeah, we done, you know, we done a Zoom
That
class
Code
the
Red.
other day. I didn't
Get
get
several
it
Code
all out.
Reds in.
Yeah.
You know, it's software, and I'm sure it'll have to be updated. There's another cost, so.
I'm glad you brought the tornado siren up because I wanted to ask a question earlier and I didn't do it. Being as that was built by a grant, are we allowed to tear it down? Didn't that grant say we had to maintain
Mr.
it?
Brinkley explained it, that if it could go be turned on manually, that we could be held liable for it.
Well, I realize that,
Yeah,
but being as it was done through a grant,
You're saying can it be destroyed?
yes,
And then, and we do
Are we
something to
allowed to
replace
take it
it
down?
because of a grant?
yes, or, because I think in that grant said that we had to maintain it.
Most grants usually come with a timeline. I'd have to see the grant, but that was back in what, the 1980s?
timeline.
About 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I would have to go back and look at the file. There's a file in City Hall. It was labeled the 2010 disaster grant. And
Well,
GNRC is the one that implemented it for us and administered it. And the siren was part of their recommendation. It's like the COVID grant. You can only use it for so many things. And sirens was one of them. And we got the ladder truck. We got some culverts fixed,
The backhoe.
a backhoe. We got
Trailer, all done.
building the house, the ladder truck, but there is stipulations in that grant. I don't know the timeline of it. I don't remember it, but there is a file that's got all of that information in it.
We could take it down, probably couldn't sell it, but we could take it down.
One thing, Mark,
This one worked out here, it did work because
it's been rebuilt.
James Smallin had it rebuilt and brought it back. If we took it down, he took it, got it rebuilt, paid for it and brought it back. But
Rebuilt it himself.
Your father did.
Paid for it out of his pocket.
I'm in favor of tornado sirens. I like the one he explained it tonight.
oh,
they're good. I say they're good if you're outside. If you're inside and we're blowing 50 miles out that way.
yeah.
These people over here.
I'm up on a hill where I'm at and I can't hear it inside or out.
I can't either.
Well, the last time it went off and people was complaining at 3 o'clock, I live on Forest Drive, didn't hear it.
Well,
Yeah, nobody in my
this
house.
company's point had something going in the back of my mind. Right now, it's radio control, which is obviously what's causing the thing to go off. Is there not a company that's responsible for that and making sure that it does what it's supposed to do? Or is it just something that's up there and we have control of it and nobody else?
Comtech is the company that worked on it.
Well, that's
They're a
that's
radio communication company.
I mean,
And they fixed it, not long back where it can be turned off and on down at the police department. There's a stand down there.
we'll see.
Savannah knows all about that.
Well, now they actually set it up on VHF, so it's on high band. Now we're fixing to go away from that. So my understanding, they did have a radio down there that would do it.
Well,
but
see, that's what I thought. I thought maybe our current
have to
people with
upkeep
our,
something.
who were responsible for maintaining it would be able to tweak it to do what we need it to do. And if it's just because it's going off in the middle of the night, I know that's a horrible thing, but I think we can.
Mr.
have it-
Smalling,
Yes,
I'm sorry, it's Chief Jolly. I did a little research since we've spoken. It's my understanding, the way that one works, where it's on radio frequency, you can change a frequency and set up maybe a different frequency, but any radio frequency like that is subject to being interfered with and causing it to go off when it's not supposed to. So it's just basically the way that particular one is designed.
but it doesn't receive any type of over-the-air alarm that'll go off on its own or anything like that? We have to
No,
set it off?
what happens is what's actually turned off is literally the power. It's kind of like a breaker on the pole that the actual siren is on. It has a breaker box, and inside that breaker box is just a breaker you turn off. If that's turned back on, the way it's actually activated is we have a separate radio, which would be a similar radio to what would be in one of our police cars, and it has an actual mic, and you key that mic up. So it works just like you would when you're transmitting radio waves. And I'm not sure about, I think the mayor mentioned it's on a high band frequency. Apparently there's certain things that can make that go off, and that's why it sometimes goes off in the middle of the night, apparently.
That's why I said it seems like there's some way that we could make it work within the bounds that it's supposed to without having to pay this
Additional.
additional
feel
fee
back
for
to-
somebody else.
And I don't know if anybody can answer this. I want to know how far out that actually is heard.
Well, that's what I said,
You know what I mean, though?
There's a lot of variables.
There is, but like, I'd like to know, is it actually doing us as good a job as we're thinking, like, notify enough people?
It's just, you didn't hear it in our house, but it's going off.
Right, and that's what makes me question.
My concern is it a modern necessity? Because of the technology that we have today in our pockets, cell phones, I'd like to know the comparison. If it would save lives of those folks who do not have a smartphone, then obviously I'm not going to argue that point. I'm all for it, and I'm all for upgrading if possible within budget reason to increase the sound, because it obviously doesn't
Reach very far.
go very far, right? But I do know that, you know, if we have an option like, what'd you call it? Code Red. Thank you. Code Red is, if that's something.
Mr. Brown,
Go ahead.
I apologize. I did find out, I didn't know this until recently. Apparently Code Red does work for home phones and non-smartphones. So I believe it would be usable for any citizen in the city.
How does it broadcast a text message? How does it know its citizens are residents of a certain particular area and or carry a certain mobile provider to get that call out to them? How do they know? Does it work off of pings?
They sign up. Now they can sign up on an app. So like you can sign up and get it
So you have to
set
sign
to
up.
call your home phone.
But people's
What
been
if you
saying
don't?
they're not
Yes.
able.
It's free, but you do have to sign up.
People's been saying on, social media when they put, I think it was on the police department about Code Red, people have come on there and make comments that they're trying to sign up and it's not, they can't get it to go through, or they can't, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have a problem personally, but some
Who
people,
activates the Code Red? Is it
I think it's
is it the weather, US weather?
No, it's activated locally.
It's activated by us.
Chief Jolly would activate it, Chief Jenkins would activate it, whoever's on that list.
I believe Keisha is also on the list, and Mayor, I think maybe you're on the list. There's 4 or 5 people that have the access to it. None of us have had the training yet. There is some online training you can take to better understand how it works. I have not yet. I wasn't sure which way the city was going to go as far as the tornado siren or or just stick with Code Red, but it's something I want to try to take as soon as possible so I can have a better understanding of how it works.
I would also like to know what other similar sized municipalities have gone away from archaic systems. And again, pardon that vocab, because I know it can save lives if it's within earshot. But I would like to know what other municipalities have gone away with said system because of the modern day usage of cell phones. And I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know if anybody can answer that. Or
Can I make one suggestion?
Sure.
I've got a suggestion. Ken Widener I've spoken to him about it. He's done a lot of research including the large tornado that hit. I'm not sure what city, maybe in Oklahoma. He's done a lot of research, and since you all have heard from the people tonight that we're talking about the tornado siren, if I could get Mr. Widener to come to the meeting, he said that he'd be willing to. He could answer a lot of your questions as far as statistics. He does not think that the sirens are nearly as effective as the Code Red system. And I think he'd be more than happy to come speak with you all about it and could probably answer questions better than most anyone I know.
I would very much like for Ken to come. He's been here before, hasn't he, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Once
he
upon a
came
time.
about the radio.
Yes, I'm sure he has.
New radio system.
That's right. Yeah, I would like for him to
I'll
come.
reach out to him and ask him if he'd be able to come. That'd be great.
Thank you, Chief.
I thought it was interesting that they spoke about Trousdale County. Of course, that's the whole county and county funds paying for that. So it's covering a much larger
But it's in
tax
the city of
base.
Hartsville, though.
And, you know, that they still have a population similar to us, I believe.
We got more than us.
Yeah, but I do want to say it like this. Our system, when we put it in, was put in at the time, the technology behind it was all that was available to us at that price. That our system's not broken, it's not non-effective, it's just not meeting our needs right now to do what the modern technology will allow us to do. And I think there's been a lot of that put out there, that it's broken, it's brand damaged, that don't work, that we don't want to activate it when it goes up. You know, I've heard all kinds of things.
There's a lot of times, I mean, News Channel 5, they have an app, right?
And everybody has an app.
Every news channel has one.
But I have been contacted with someone who does not have access to technology to sign up for the things, and I can probably go in and do it for him. But he was concerned about it because he just had no concern for technology in that realm to protect him.
Well, is he in the vicinity of hearing that tornado siren? That was the question.
Well, I think he would be. Yeah, he's along 31E.
Well, even if that software, like his first proposal was to update the software or put the software in it, their software in it. Is that right?
Yeah.
That still doesn't fix the decibels
Yep.
and the range of the speakers, because with the new speaker system that he proposed, I believe it was 400 watts, if I wrote that down correctly. And I'm not sure what wattage that's producing. And again, I mean, so we can't hear it. I mean, I've heard it one time, I believe, since I've been here 26 years ago.
Well, we're not the only one having a problem, because it was on the news that in Nashville, 18 sirens they had did not go off the other day when they had 18. So we're not the only city.
I will
having
say, they were
issues.
trying to sell the new system, saying it's not just a weather siren. It can be used, like they were trying to
As a
sell it.
communication
As a communication point. So that's a thought to go toward, not that we can really do that quite yet, I don't know.
I think you can do that with Code Red as well. but
Can you? Okay.
Can send out any kind of alerts.
Yeah, that covers it.
But Code Red's free, right?
No,
we pay
I mean, we
for it.
pay for it, but it is free to the citizens.
For instance.
but it was part of the county-wide, Sumner County all went together and
Oh.
got us a really good price on it.
Okay.
I think it's $300.
Well, maybe Ken could shed some light on just what he thought. He's thinking of a small town like Westmoreland. Would it be beneficial to upgrade our system or try to move toward the cell phone and getting the word out that way? I don't know.
The cell phone apps from the local stations in Nashville and the National Weather Service. Chandler said it best that night. Almost everyone has a cell phone now. I mean, even if you can't afford one, the government's providing one to most people. So it's not really a big deterrent for anyone there.
And I will add one more thing though, just as a thought for everybody. You know, tornadoes strike when we sometimes are in the bed at 3 a.m. and if your cell phone is turned off, some people get in the habit of that. I don't, but I know some people that do, or they turn their phone completely down where there's no notification going off at night. And if a siren that was within their earshot would save their life, again, I'm gonna look at that before I say no quicker than I would, because of those variables.
I do think some of the notifications though will override if your phone is on, it'll override your settings and go off.
Okay.
Because I've had the child alert things go off in the middle of the night.
Code red won't, but I mean, like
It won't,
if it's
okay.
sending a text or something like that, but like, the Storm app for News Channel 5, that will go off and you can set it for whatever, like for that one, for Storm Shield, you can set it for whatever, you can set it for tornado, you can set it for floods, you can set it for freeze warnings, anything. And it does go off and override your settings. Even if you're on a phone call, it will make a noise.
Is it too far out of the realm to maybe see if Mr. Widener can come and we could do before the next meeting, maybe have a special call meeting at 6 o'clock so we can maybe get these questions answered? Because I mean, I'm of the expectation, just like the attorney, if it's on the pole and it can be operated, people expect it to work. And I don't want to wait 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks to maybe get the answers that he may provide about the direction we need to take.
I think we're in a danger zone right now.
Yes.
Very much danger zone of being sued or being liable if that tornado siren's not working and we've got it here. I think we need to do one or the other. Need to get rid of it
Or
replace it.
Yeah.
I've sent Mr. Widener a text message, but I haven't gotten a reply back yet. And I was asking if he would be able to attend the council meeting on the 15th.
Because I mean, I think if we're going to ask that kind of information, we need it with some expediency.
And if Keisha can look in that file and see if we need to get rid of it, or if there's a time period there.
Yeah, there's a timeline on the contract or the grant. It probably isn't.
But if it's not something that can be serviced or something that we need to update that we can't physically update.
Can I make a just a friendly suggestion? Being as I've been Zooming and y'all been hybriding, I guess that's it. When everybody's talking at one time, person on Zoom can't understand a word.
That speaker helped greatly though, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And the microphone too?
Yes.
Brian, you were talking about the elderly that maybe didn't have access to some of the modern technology. My code red comes through my cell phone, my text message, and it also rings my house phone. I think some of the elderly probably would need help signing up to code red, but if they've got a house phone and they don't know how to operate all these modern apps, it comes through the house phone.
Well, this person had no interest, didn't want anything to do with any of that. I understand.
Is it more than a mile to your house from here?
Me? I'm kind of thinking so. I think on that little offshoot, and I get nothing.
I think it is on my house too.
He
We're
said it
close, you're on the edge of
was-
that.
He said it was 1 mile range on.
So I don't know that I would, even out there, would hear it.
Well, I know the last time the siren was tested, not when it went off in the middle of the night, but when it was tested during the day, someone called from over in Ridgecrest and said they didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Well, they should with.
They're on
the
that
usage.
edge of our outer city limits
If it's got
there.
a mile range from here to Ridgecrest, I don't believe, maybe a little bit over a mile, what do you say?
That's what we're
Well,
saying. My
that
house
was
is over a
his
mile.
new
But-
unit. This one, I don't know what the range is up there.
I will say at the elementary school, we can hear it when it goes off. We can hear it in the back of the building, but you cannot hear it in the front of the building. Because a few years ago when it went off and there was something coming, the bus people knew it before we did and they had to yell through the building to us.
I
We
I
could
don't
hear it.
hear it real
You
well
should
in my
hear it.
house.
So-
That morning it went off at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I've heard it one time.
It got my attention that, of course, we had just thought we had it repaired and obviously we just put it in an unsettled state of mind. But we can decide what we want to do, talk to Mr. Widener. I've worked on many of these systems in the past at places I've worked. And honestly speaking, from someone who has put the transmitters in and done the internal workings of the control box, none of them work. You know, the ones I worked on obviously were older than 2012. You would think it'd be modern enough that it would work like it's supposed to. But I mean, you look at a 2012 automobile now, you're already sometimes getting ready to trade. So things do wear out and do change. But I mean, if you want me to go ahead and look at the opportunity of putting it, possibly this lease program in the budget for you to look at, we can do that. Just like Mark said, and Chief Jolly, when you have software, you have updates. Personally, I'm in favor of taking it down and storing it in the building somewhere. We may not can put it up for auction to be sold to somebody. And there would be somebody in a smaller town than ours that would be interested in it. But for someone that has worked around, a perfect example is fire alarms. When the fire alarms malfunction, after just a very, very few times, they don't pay any attention to them. Healthcare workers are actually battling right now what they call alarm fatigue from different machines that go off, and they get so used to hearing the routine that they don't pay attention to their patients and the needs that they have. So there's been a complete resurgence of trying to work on this. And 5 years ago, you'd have never heard the term alarm fatigue. But even, you know, probably the schools right now are the best ones. When an alarm goes off, you spring into action and go. Even the schools might be getting a little lax on it anymore, but you're in it every day, so you know. But you know, you've got to be ready, and you want your equipment to be as ready as you are. So y'all got a tough decision ahead of you on this. So if Mr. Widener can come to our next meeting and speak, if you'll go ahead and put that on the agenda for him to speak, we'll get him in and get him out at our next meeting.
All right. Any more fire department questions?
Thank you.
This is my arm.
Thank you.
My foot to get to Ridgecrest.
Chief Jolly, you with us?
1.6
Still?
miles.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, take it away.
Well, I don't have much to report. Really, I don't guess anything necessarily to report or anything to ask to be put on the agenda. I will just give you an update on the hiring of Tracy Gatwood. He is scheduled for his psychological evaluation on it'll be the Tuesday, the 6th. I think that's correct. And he should be able to begin working on the 12th. He's already done his physical. He's qualified with a firearm. There's just a few other things he has to do, and he'll be ready to start full-time on the 12th. We're pretty certain we're going to be able to get a waiver so that he can go ahead and begin pretty much as a full-time certified officer, given his lengthy experience. So if we cannot get him into the transition school later this month, there's another one in June. So he will still have to go, but I think that they'll give him a waiver where basically he's going to be able to work by himself if we need him to.
Very good.
And that's all I've got. Unless somebody has questions for me, I think you all asked Keisha to give you the copy of the stats.
We do have those. She handed them out.
Okay.
I had a question. Chief,
Yes, ma'am.
has the training been completed with the animal control with all the officers?
No, Ray and I spoke about that a couple of days ago. We've got to try. It's really difficult to get the training set up to where we can get everyone. We're going to try, it's probably going to take 2 days because obviously we've got to have a couple on the road, and we've got Sergeant Mancino is on vacation this week. And then we've got John Bellavia is actually going to be gone in 3 weeks. So we're going to try to get it in before he leaves, because he's going to be out for 3 weeks for military leave. So we're working on it. We've got to get with Mr. Dallas and get a time that we can get, or set up 2 dates rather, because we'll probably have to do half on one date and then half on another date. But we are working on that to try to get that done just as quickly as possible.
And one more question about the auction that was voted on last year. Have you looked into that? Maybe when we can have that?
With what auction you're referring to?
There was a vote on it.
I'm sorry, what auction?
It's to auction the old vehicles or the impound vehicles off.
Yeah, I don't know anything about a boat, but we just got a list of all the vehicles we got just a couple of days ago, and we're going to talk with Wally Gillum because the last person I can't remember the name of the last company, but the city, they've gone back and forth. In other words, they use one time and then they go with the other one. I can't think of the other name of the company, but they used the other company last time, and we've got to get some clarification on one of our vehicles as to whether or not I think Ray might have told Captain Malfitano. I think he told me he did get clarification actually on the Kia. We were hoping we might be able to sell it at auction, but it has to basically, we can use it for 5 years, but we found out we cannot auction it after we use it for 5 years. Then it has to be donated to, it basically has to be given to the state, and I forget which division gets it, but we unfortunately won't get the proceeds on that one. So we're going to try to make use of it for at least 5 years because we can do that. And I think we've got 5 or 6 cars that we're going to try to get set up to auction, hopefully within the next month.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking that was late last summer, early fall, but the council has already voted for that auction to be authorized and advertised. You were speaking about your auctioneers. I know before, when you're discussing this with the auctioneers, some of them charge you a flat rate fee, some of them charge a percentage, and that was the reason that the one was gone with last time. The fees that the police department got to keep out of the expense of it was quite a bit less.
Yeah, is Ben Bray? Does that sound correct? That's what's coming.
That's correct.
Okay, I think that's the company they used last time. And so we were going to go with, actually, we'll probably go just check with both of them, see which one will work out best for us.
Yeah, and that's because circumstances change, and they may be able to work a schedule better for you, or there's a lot of factors that figure into it.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to, is that pretty much on everything on your report, Chief?
Yes, sir, unless someone else has any more questions.
I don't. I was going to ask about the auction.
Okay, I'm going to touch on something here. I was hoping Aaron would be here too, so that all my department heads would be present. On January, I believe it's January 21st, the council voted to authorize department heads to sign up to $500 on purchase order request. It was previously $200 and it was increased to $500. We had a circumstance that came through City Hall this week that was $599. So I want to point out that I realize that there could be problems with this, but I want to nip it in the bud before it ever starts. Keisha is already expecting that we will get dinged in our audit because of it. This purchase actually involved an employee's credit card. So anything like that should come to the city. I know that there was circumstances that they were afraid that the timeline wouldn't work out. But because that is over the signing limit, at least the mayor and possibly even the council members should be involved in it to know what's going on. So, Keisha's here, the chief's here, so, I'll get with Aaron and talk to him, next week after tomorrow's holiday. So, we'll discuss that, but I wanted to make the council aware. We can't take many dings like that. We've got a good thing going. We want to keep it going, but we need to keep an eye on it.
And how much was it, Mayor?
It was $599. It wasn't much over, but we've got to make sure we stay on top of it and follow. We set the rules now. We need to try to follow the rules.
So will we talk more specific about it later, or is that just, when you said it's an employee credit card, I'm kind of confused when you.
Well, what happened, the employee used a credit card for the procurement, and it's my understanding there was no purchase order request made on it, so I will leave that between them and their supervisor, but I'm letting the supervisors know that I'm putting them on notice to make sure rules are followed. Because if they're violated too much, then I will be taking disciplinary action. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I just got a reply, sorry. I just got a reply back from Ken Widener. He says that he will be able to attend the meeting, just so that you all know.
Thank you. And he's up first on the agenda, so we'll get him in so he can get back to his duties.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, you have the Public Works report in front of you. Looks like water loss for this month is down to about 33.5%. So we're moving in the right direction. One of the things that Aaron is concerned about, he feels like the water line on Dewey Car Road needs to be replaced. So he's trying to get some numbers together on that. So we don't know what will happen in that. I asked him, could it be done in phases? He seemed to think there are some parts of it's worse than others. But if we have to have that water line re-engineered and redone, it'll have to go to a 6-inch water line. And going on the basis of what the pumping station line cost was, I think, $42,000. It could be quite expensive. He estimated the length of it being between 3 and 5 miles. So we'll get those numbers together and have those more in the future. He had a meeting yesterday with the folks from Suez Corporation. That is the company he was discussing about that would want to do contract maintenance on our water tanks. And they offer a lot of other services, so they're going to be sending some proposals in and doing some studies. So we'll probably be looking at that a little more serious in the coming months with budget coming and trying to decide what direction we want to take there. As far as our consent order, we're moving forward with that. We've asked for another extension. There's another plan that is being floated as to how we want to proceed with that. A lot of that will be up to TDEC as to how we want to continue with it, but that is under control. As far as the sludge at the sewer plant, we have our first attempt of getting the permit from the state failed. So we're gonna have to dig deeper, probably have an engineer to apply for that. There will be some expense to getting that done. So that's just the next step in the process. So we'll move ahead of that. And as I get more information on it, I'll let you know.
Is that on new land or existing land?
That's to take it to the landfill.
Before we voted to do the pressing.
Yeah. You gotta have a permit for that too. So.
Was there an explanation to the failure or?
I think that there's a lot more tests that's involved in it than our guys could do. We were trying to do it. Penny was trying to take care of it and do all the tests, but evidently the state is going to require more tests than that we were not able to do an analysis on. So we had some sample kits sent in, and we're going to try once again on it. If not, then we'll have to probably have an engineering firm try to help us out on it.
So we just didn't answer to the test in the permitting process.
Yeah, I contacted H&A and asked them would they give us an extension, because I wanted the permit in hand from TDEC before I signed a contract with them. And they were perfectly okay with that. So that's where that stands this time.
Did we get an answer about our previous plan not being accepted by the state through our engineer firm directly? I know you said you tried to call TDEC and they weren't available on the phone.
No, we did not get one from them, but we had another firm to look at it, and what the first group was going to do was basically go in and lay new lateral lines, have Aaron and his crew basically do the work. When we had other folks come in and give some second opinions, what were we going to do with that when if we followed all of that and we came back in 5 years and started working on our collection system, all of that would have been null and void. So it would have been wasted money. So they're looking at ways in another part of town that has just as much need that would put in the not so much the term of gravity flow systems, but the federal government and state governments now have given approval to put new lines in on private property from basically from the house out to the pit. And we think that we have lots of trouble in that's causing I&I and tree roots and everything else. So they're looking at that, and that's why we have asked for the extension.
So that previous plan that we talked about with our guys doing the work is off the table?
It's on hold.
Okay. Because I know that was a pretty big
We're at least exploring the second plan before we move forward.
Because I had some concerns that our guys would be able to even do that project on their own, so.
It was definitely a lot of work. I spoke last time about we are going to get some Rescue Act money. I was very hopeful that we would be able to use the Rescue Act money to pave our streets. But I was told last Thursday in a meeting that paving and repaving was not going to be allowed because we were not allowed to increase any of our carbon footprint, quote unquote. So, we are gonna have that money available. We're still waiting on guidelines, not only from the federal government that will hand it down to the state, and the comptroller will let us know how we can use that money, what it can be purposed for. There will probably be some pretty tight guidelines on it because, correct me if I'm wrong, Keisha, but they basically said they want to keep that money in a different fund so that it could be audited separately and kept up with, and it's going to be monitored very, very closely. But I have no intention between now and 2024 to ever let a penny of that go to waste once it's announced and given.
You spoke to us at the last meeting about the sewer plant was in the hands of the revolving loan fund.
That is correct, and I made some copies of the letter, but I guess I left them on my printer because I don't see them now. Basically saying that the revolving loan fund had looked at all of our cost analysis. Can't believe I walked out and didn't get them. They looked at all of our cost analysis. Keisha, did you get that email?
I
It
did.
come from
And I actually had my folder with everything in it, but then I had to pull it out to try to get the 911 address and left it on my desk.
It's from Gene Yu at the revolving loan fund. And basically what the email says, that they've gone through all of our finances, and of course, the council, what, David, two councils ago, 3 councils ago, voted to follow all these guidelines. And it says that, see if I can read this a little print. Basically, we have the okay for the 6.1 million. So I had to submit an additional letter this week asking for the other $480,000. That was the difference in the current bid of the plant. So they will be looking at that now, but with the 6.1 million, they said with our finances, with our audited finances between 2018, 2020, that we could financially support the plant with no rate increase. So that was tremendous because when we looked at back in 2015, we were looking at least an $8 a month rate increase to build this plant. But I was hoping with all the repairs that we would be able to pay the installments on it and not have to raise rates very much. So I was very surprised when they said that our rates right now would support the 6.1 million. That's tremendous. Of course, none of this has to be acted on until the plan is complete, is my understanding. But we will have to start having some public meetings pretty soon. We're probably going to have to go down to Tennessee Tower for some meetings and discuss finances with them. And there'll be a lot of work that the engineers are going to have to do that is part of their package for this. And of course, everything with the construction contract and the bid and all the analysis of it is contingent upon the fact that we were able to get the loan. So that's pretty much got us up to date on it.
So no pre-construction hearing yet, but
Not yet.
we're close.
Mayor, can you update the council on, what the citizen come before us about the sign over at Ridgecrest?
I haven't been updated on that.
Okay, I can-
Uh,
I spoke to, cause the lady contacted me and told me, that the pole has been put up. I spoke to Aaron, Mr. Aaron, and he said that the parts and everything is coming in. If weather is permitting, he'll have it completed this week. When she addressed the council, it's a street sign that had her street.
Cardinal Circle.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's here. They've got the pole up. That was yesterday. They might have the actual sign up today, but it should be completed by tomorrow. She said to tell the council, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks.
She really appreciated it.
I noticed they've already done the pre-cutting or the preparing the road for Summer Drive.
Mhm.
I think Henry, have they done that for Henry Harris yet? Also,
Yeah, I think
a
so.
portion.
yeah, I think the email said that Aaron sent out to us, said that they hope to have it complete by the end of next week.
Mhm.
Once they unload the equipment, it'll go pretty fast.
Yeah.
Ms. Keisha? I know you got lots to talk about.
Let's see, I sent the delinquent 2019 taxes to Mr. Bradley today, so those are gonna be turned over to the clerk and master. We've got direct deposit set up. I don't know if y'all knew that or not. We've got about half the employees on it.
That's
So,
great.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a few more that didn't sign up initially that are now thinking about it. So hopefully we'll get a few more on that.
Can you use multiple banks?
You can, yes, yes, because we have a few, I have, so much going into savings and the rest into their checking, but they're at separate banks, so. Everything is working so good so far on that. We were kind of nervous the first go around. But, gosh, I don't know. We just had a lot going on. It's been really busy.
Aaron told me y'all sold 75 trash cans, but you've got a wait list of 100. Is that correct?
We've got, yes, a lot
Okay.
on the wait list.
And they were supposed to be in Monday, but he was sending an email out and because we didn't receive them.
Right.
Have you got an update on that, or you know anything about the trash can?
I just know we've not got them yet.
Okay.
We had probably 15 calls about trash cans today.
Okay.
So, but I'm not sure when they'll be in.
Okay.
I'll try to send you the addresses for the ones I
Yes.
bought. I'll try to do that tomorrow.
You
Well, or
said,
Monday.
she said phone calls, never mind me.
Yeah,
When there's a problem with water and sewer after hours
Uh,
and someone calls the city hall, what's on the voicemail? Does it direct him to dial that number for the county, or
I think it does.
it does? 'Cause I meant to call it to see this afternoon myself, but I forgot. Cause I know like during the flooding, we had a lot of problems and people didn't know what
Well,
to do.
They would call.
Yeah, that's what I said. I
They
mean,
called and asked me, well, where do I call? What do I do? I mean, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to call or how to get a hold of
I'll
them.
check that. And we also got the cell phone for Public Works for the after hours
mhm.
number that they'll have.
Oh, that'd be good.
So I don't know if we still want those calls going to the county and then them calling it, or if maybe we just need to put that after hours number out there somewhere.
Mayor?
I would think that it needs to still go through
Still to
the
go to the
county.
county.
I mean, because
That phone will blow up on
everybody in
Yeah,
the
that-
world would call.
But the county can document the call too, and
Right.
put it in their CAD, and everything.
So they'll know where our people are at in
Yeah.
case.
But I just know people have a hard time getting that information when, I mean, it may be even online, but, and that's,
I'll check it.
But some people, again, don't do social media.
MTask website is not up to date on some of our informations. It's got the wrong phone numbers and wrong emails and wrong council members listed still. I noticed that one day last week.
All right, I think I can go in and just update that myself. We've only got the man down alarms and got those set up with all the alerts and everything, so they're supposed to start using those as well. But I can't think of anything else, like, unless y'all can think of something.
Have you had many people come in and pay their taxes or?
There's been a lot coming in, but I don't know if they were current taxes or delinquent taxes.
Okay.
What is the process that if someone comes in to pay after you've sent this to Mr. Bradley?
They will have to go down to the county to pay it.
Okay, so that they no longer can pay it in your office, that they have
Right.
to go to the county. But then it's, after they pay it, he's notified and it comes off the list, or,
The county sends the information to us.
okay. and
It
then you-
actually goes to Chancery Court now. And then
But in the meantime, though.
The court, it's handled through the court system.
But before it gets there, though, they still have that opportunity to get took off the list.
But we've already sent them.
Once John Bradley gets them, they go out to wait and pay it down there.
Okay, so he's already basically sent
Yeah.
it to Chancery Court.
Yes, he emailed me first thing this morning asking for it.
Okay.
Can you speak on about where citizens can still get emissions, but they can't get their tags up here? Because a lot of people still think they can do both.
Right, no, they can't, the county came and got all their computers, printer, everything, so I'm guessing they're not gonna come back.
So we can just do emissions up here. Is it
Still do
every
emissions.
third?
Third Thursday,
Okay. And then they'll have to go down to Gallatin.
that, or I think you can actually renew it online
Line,
somehow.
okay.
I'm
You
not
can.
sure.
I do.
Okay.
And I think they said they may have like kiosks.
Yeah, they've recently installed a kiosk in the lobby where you don't even have to go into the office to get
Oh.
the tags anymore.
Yeah, they're probably trying to push for stuff like that.
Okay.
It was convenient when they were up here, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right, a lot of people don't know because after people get emissions,
They walk
there
right
to
up.
get their tags, and
Mhm.
we have to.
Did anybody check in why they quit coming up here?
Okay.
Probably COVID.
Well, they quit because of COVID, so they quit in like around March of last year. And then they just came in one day and said, we're here to get our equipment.
And emissions gonna be going away real soon, so.
Completely?
Yeah.
Okay.
so the EPA's passed that? The EPA's gonna honor that?
It was passed and then they were waiting on a letter from the EPA saying that it was okay.
Oh,
And
are they getting that
They've
letter?
had that for about 14 months and Representative Lambert said something the other day about, he thought it was gonna be soon.
However, Sumner County had to renew the contract.
With that company.
With that company.
Third contract.
So we'll
So-
continue it probably for a while.
Or they'll lose money.
Depends on the contract, I suppose.
Contract, yeah.
But
Contract's up.
maybe we need to
Or
call
they
them and
might
see
go
if they
down.
would be interested in coming back,
Yeah,
because
they can
I know
afford
it's a heavily used service. And if y'all don't mind them being in the office, I mean, we need to try to get them back up here, I guess.
I mean, it's just one day a month for 3-4 hours.
I know it's convenient for the older
Right,
generation
yes.
that it's harder for them to drive to Gallatin.
I never understood the emissions process in the state of Tennessee anyway.
I always felt like it was a money thing.
Well, I did too. But
Do you have anything else?
Not unless you have a question.
I do. I've brought this up before, but I had to call Kelly the other day about something for the senior citizens. And she said, well, it would be a few days before she could do what I needed her to do. Because it takes her 3 days to manually enter the water bills.
Yes.
It's on
That's,
a good day.
I know, but
Right.
it seems like at this day and age that task could be sped
Well,
up
and
a
that
little
guy
bit.
that Aaron and the mayor met with yesterday, I was actually in their meeting as well, and that was a service he provided was the automatic or electronic meters. And he was talking to, we could log in and see everybody's reading on our computer, and we could have notifications if like someone's usage was like extremely high. and, to help us catch leaks immediately instead of,
But that's
they
a
go out there and
hundred,
read it and realize it.
but that's $100,000 solution.
Million.
A million? Okay.
Yeah. 7 to
A million?
900,000,
million.
probably closer
For
to
that?
For this
To do
service? For that
Um,
You
service?
have to change out all the meters.
To take out all the
Yeah.
meters and the software and everything.
Yeah, it-
Which he
I
was about to
figured it'd be
do.
a 5-year plan, but he wants to do it all at once. and-
So-
and
But it
lease
would be
basically
something-
lease it to us.
Yeah, lease it, like a lease, like the
Like the,
siren,
yeah.
But
so much per month,
is there, with the people that provide us software, what are their names?
local government.
Is there not something that they have that might already be in the system that allows us to put it on a device and let our guys manually put it in and then it go through the cloud to City Hall and maybe make that a little more economical?
I mean, we could certainly check into that.
I-
We're still waiting on utility billing and software update.
Okay, so
We still haven't gotten that in yet,
that may be in that once we get it, right?
possibly. I'm not sure.
I don't know. But I just felt like 3 days and then we have rereads and then
Right,
things like, and then
Uh-huh.
misreads and all kinds of things that cause.
and then cut offs and cut back ons,
Yeah.
and that was another thing with these electronic ones. I mean, you could have valves put on them and shut it off from your computer.
But I was just thinking from the software perspective that there's got to be a better way than manually entering those numbers.
What happens when your computer crashes?
The world's gonna come to a stop, man. It is.
Could you imagine it just malfunctioning,
So-
everybody's water just flat?
Well, everybody's meter wouldn't have that valve on it. It's like, it would have a separate valve. But it would be like a valve, you could take it off and, take it off your meter and put it on Chandra's.
Can you do an inquiry and just get us some information? Kind of ease my mind. I mean, I feel like it's something,
Yes.
anything we can do to help the girls be doing other things and making their time more
Well,
efficient.
and,
is
a lot of
important.
times we try to help her, but if we don't have the time to, but yes, it takes, I did it
There's
several
not that
times.
much
It's
room
not
in
bad.
that little corner.
That's what I mean, just so anything we could do that maybe wouldn't cost us any money or, because I mean, we have access to a lot of options in that software that we don't even know what they are.
Mhm.
So,
That's a good idea, though, check with local government, because, some of these companies, but of course, there's probably 6 or 8 different companies that offer these radio read meters that we're looking into. He's just one, but the software might not be compatible. And that may be what he's talking about. We have to not only get the software, we have to get their hardware to go with it too, so. Because his big grandiosity thing was we'd do it all at one time and all of it be under warranty at one time and you wouldn't have to worry about phasing it in. And they would phase the prices, but not the equipment. But am I mistaken, or did he say it would probably take a year to get it all in?
To get everything installed and.
So,
That's one that you just drive by and reads it. Or
No.
it's different.
no,
You do it from
It
the
was like our
office.
computer sitting
Yeah.
there. Let's say your house sprung a leak and you're used to using 60 gallons a day. And all of a sudden it jumps up to 80. It would actually come up a red flag in the computer in the morning when she turns it on.
Yeah.
And say you may want to contact Mr. Lee to check or send someone out to let him know. I've been looking at some of the systems and they're pretty amazing what they can do. And they'll actually read every 15 minutes and give you a printout of what that meter has done. And we're up to about 1,800 meters now, roughly, so.
I will say this about some of this. I think some of these pie in the sky discussions about all this, I mean, it'd be great if the federal government could just make trillions of dollars fall from the sky.
They do.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting at. A few years ago, they had the shovel ready initiatives, and any municipality or anybody that had programs or projects in hand that they needed funded, they gave them the money for. So I think these talks and these discussions about all these things that we could never afford to
Yeah,
do,
it's worth looking at.
to have them ready just in case we get an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing about it, with the depreciation and all that we have been putting back for the last few years, we're finally going to get to see some of that come to maybe a good use. I think maybe the comptroller's office will give us some leniency on what we need to, some things we need to do. It's just like this water line. If you can't get a grant to put a water line in, then it's your responsibility now as a board to make sure that the water lines are reinstalled and engineered to what we need. So there's lots of things going on. Aaron has talked to some of our engineers about drawing up qualifications for subdivision regulations and different things that are documents that we're probably required to have on hand now that we don't have. So he's got me the prices. I was going to put them in the budget for next year, but the more I'm reading it, some of the things we probably need to go ahead and bring to the council and get passed. But I think we're probably okay where we stand right now. But items like these radio read meters, water tank repairs, repainting. A gentleman said yesterday it was $500,000 now to repaint a water tank. So you can wipe out a lot of savings painting one tank now. So.
To repaint a water tank?
Yeah.
We got two of them.
Yes.
So we've
I'm gonna get in the painting business.
we've got a lot of tasks ahead of us, but let's get back to the one right now that's the most important. This charter amendments.
Okay, he wants to talk about charter.
We've got to figure out what's, I mean, I'm perfectly okay with, I was perfectly okay with what Mr. Bradley had, and I'm perfectly okay with what Mr. Garrett is recommending that we have, so.
Well, I think we've done away with way too much history. I don't want to do that. I think this country's wiped out a lot of history that shouldn't have wiped out.
And I think that was his only recommendation. Everything else in there was just, he put what our charter initially said and what we were changing it to.
I have to agree with Mr. Leith. I don't think
we need to take it out.
no.
I agree too. It actually sets the history and gives us some background of our city, and if it doesn't hurt anything to leave it in.
Do you have a copy of the email with what he emailed us back?
I have one that Keisha printed off for me so I could be reviewing.
I think, Keith, did you say that's the only change? Everything else like Mr. Bradley wanted?
Yes.
Well, I had a question about something I read. Section 5, appointment elections.
Okay.
The things in green were what he wanted us to change, right? He recommended?
Yes, anything in green was what he
Okay,
recommended.
because section 5, appointment elections, he put a question mark of certain officers. And we've had this problem with officers versus other terms in the past. And then being further enacted, and then it striked out mayor and council shall elect a city recorder, city treasurer, an attorney, and a city judge. Well, I think from the discussions that we had, that's not what we wanted.
Right.
No, and that part of it, that may not be the one where it said the alderman. That was another section, but basically, I think that's what you voted on, that it be enacted, that the city council would do the appointments, that the mayor would not be a part of it.
I don't think that's what
I
we
thought the
intended.
mayor was the one that we,
That's what we were changing it to.
right. That's what it was. and
That's, we
was
had a very
changing-
lengthy conversation about it.
That's
so-
what it was, and then we
Yeah.
was changing it where the mayor would appoint.
Well, according to Mr. Bradley's draft sent to them, mayor and has been struck out from that paragraph.
Who wrote this? The one we got the other day, the latest one. Garrett? Or
Mr. Bradley.
Bradley.
Mr. Bradley.
This is Bradley's.
No,
The
No,
one I have is Garrett's.
it's Garrett's.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Because Mr. Bradley just sent in
Yeah,
the
Doug
anointed.
And Doug Garrett is the attorney that represents all cities in the state of Tennessee
Well, do we,
at the legislature on charter changes.
I don't have no paper.
Oh,
But I mean, we had a lengthy
No,
discussion about it. I felt like, you know, when I saw that it stood out because it was just 2 words struck out from the paragraph. And I'm like, well, that changes the whole
Dynamic.
the dynamic of what we discussed. And so,
So you're telling me Mr. Garrett took what Bradley wrote and then he changed it again?
he's recommending it.
anything
Four
green is
No,
what
this-
he is
this-
recommending.
This says, what's in red,
I don't have that. My-
I don't.
what's in red and struck out is what it said originally.
Because he asked me for the red line copy of the charter.
Yes.
Okay,
And I told him I didn't have it, that Mr. Bradley had actually made all the changes.
Mhm.
Section copy you're referring to?
I said
Section
that I
5.
gave him that recap of the changes
Right.
that were
Article
made.
3,
And so he went in
Section
and
5.
made
And
the
changed
red.
mine's not colored at the moment. I can tell what's there though.
That's a whole lot easier to read when it's colored out.
Say it is, but I don't have a color printer at home, so.
But, I mean, we talked about it in detail and I don't think that's
I
what
don't
we
like that he
intended.
marked out some of this.
Do you have the ordinance that we approved? Do you have a copy of that on the computer, Keisha, or anything
I
handy?
mean, I had it, yes, on my computer.
Okay, because that would have been a simple, it'd be one little line or something that we changed.
Okay. So what page is that on?
Article 3, Section 5,
But is that the only place?
the only place I saw. But
So
like I
can
said,
we
that
say
would
we
have been,
want Mr. Bradley's version? That's a legitimate question. Can we say we want Mr. Bradley's version?
Yeah, we can say
Yeah,
that.
you can just say you don't want to go with the recommendations, you
Okay.
just want to stay with Mr. Bradley. And
Okay,
then just don't, just disregard that.
because that's
well,
not,
Yeah, but that's what we need to do tonight is
Okay.
whatever we want to change it so it goes into the document he has.
I thought when I read this earlier that there was a whole lot more green added to it in other places. But in this final copy of it, there's not that much. I mean, he had whole paragraphs in some of it that I remember seeing earlier.
So what would you like to do? You want to stay with Mr. Bradley's or would you want to go with the changes that he has submitted?
Well, there, in his changes, there's not that many. I mean, I thought there were some earlier things that may need to be required to make it more legal, but that stood out to me that I don't think that's, wait, over here. Section 2, but he struck all that out. It's in green, but it's underlined and struck out. Corporate boundaries, that's what you're,
Right.
he's wanting to take that
We'll
out.
take that out.
Okay, I got
We
that.
don't do that.
That was the only thing he was basically recommending to take out,
Yes.
but he wasn't
But that
adding.
other caught your attention when you got to looking at it.
Yeah, so he wasn't wanting to add anything else to this.
He was
At all.
just wanting to say that, you know, the boundaries are what was said in the charter, whatever.
Well, I
Instead
read,
of being specific about it starts northwest here at,
I read
which is
several
like
other
the
charters
history
when we were doing this, and there's a lot of historical context in those
Mhm.
charters, so I don't see that there's any problem with leaving it in there.
I think that's.
I think we're all
Mr.
agreed.
Bradley said,
I think we should say with
I
Bradley.
want
Yeah,
Mr. Lee.
I like
It
Mr.
needs to
Bradley's version too.
Mhm.
But
That's what we voted on.
Yes, sir.
is this what, but is in that instance that I asked about, was that our intent?
Well, that doesn't matter because that's not what we
That's Mr. Garrett's.
Right.
But you're
So
looking at, it's not what we're doing.
But Mr. Bradley may have overlooked that mistake.
okay, who's got,
Yes.
you
So
have,
we need to, I need to go back and look at that section and see
Yeah, I thought I
what
had a
exactly
copy
what
of
it
it with me.
says.
but I'm not finding it.
Article 3, Section 5. Mayor and is crossed out under Mr. Bradley's instruction.
well, that's
Maybe.
not,
That's not, that was,
So it's in, you're saying it's in red?
it's in red and striked out, yeah.
Because like I said, he did the red line
Mhm.
version.
But
so if it does state that, you're saying.
Okay,
Yes.
this, I'm assuming this is, it says resolution R030221-1.
Yes.
Appointment of certain officers. That's what, that's the section you're looking at, right?
yes.
Be it
Article
further
3.
enacted that the mayor and city council shall appoint a city recorder. You can double check, but I'm pretty sure what we voted on said mayor.
It did.
Okay. He's got it struck out as he was taking it out.
Garrett, Mr. Garrett does, yeah.
No,
No.
Bradley
Mr.
does.
Bradley.
does.
No, that's not what we said.
that's not what we said. That's right.
So he just needs to add the mayor in there.
Mayor and city council shall elect.
Right.
I mean, that,
Well,
I wrote it on there, so I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Maybe a typo, but sure can change the whole outlook of it, what we discussed.
Am I right?
Mayor and city council shall appoint city recorder, city treasurer, city attorney, and city judge.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
gets a vote in those,
Yeah.
right, he gets a
Yeah.
vote in
Yeah.
those.
in those offices.
So we need to make sure that it's in there like that.
That's what gets sent to the state.
Right.
Can he send us the final draft before he sends it to the
That's what
state?
I
He
said.
doesn't send it to the state.
Yeah, this comes from the state.
The ordinance is
Oh,
all
okay.
they sent. The ordinance where the changes were made, they're not a full copy.
Now,
This
when
is-
it comes back from the state later on down, we don't have to ratify it if it's,
no,
Not
we're
like
still-
that.
yeah.
We still have to ratify. it. No questions asked. We still have to ratify. That's what got us in this position in the first place.
It can't be no questions asked because somebody could vote it down.
But is that not correct, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, if it's voted down, David's right. I
We get the
mean,
choice of it. If it's
It's
not what
not
we want,
So,
we get to
so
vote
if
it
it's
down.
wrong when it comes back, we start all over, right?
Right.
Okay. But we still have
So
to
we
vote
hope
on
that
it.
This is the
But we
right.
have to vote on it, but we
Yes.
don't have to pass it if it doesn't say.
If it's
what
not
it
say
says.
what we
Right.
intended for it to say.
Right.
Okay.
But we got some changes in there that should have been made a few years ago that
Mhm.
need to be done.
Yeah.
So we don't need to miss this opportunity to get it done.
Yeah, and that's basically what they were saying yesterday when they called. If we don't get this done, then
Bathroom break.
it's gonna
Where you
be-
going?
So,
Can we take a
Time to go.
break?
Danny,
We can the gym, whichever one.
we're done anyway.
Yeah, it's everything on the agenda. Just making sure the charge done.
So what's
Because
on,
Keisha needs to, know
Can you
tomorrow's a
repeat the
holiday,
agenda
but
for-
they,
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna say, I know tomorrow's a holiday. You might can wait for Monday, but they need, yeah.
Have we ever made a decision on that tree? Cause they, Tri-County come by my house the other day and even mentioned that tree. Did anybody?
I was
Yeah,
gonna leave.
I looked at it.
And
Yeah.
if you want to top it, top it.
I'd like for it to, I thought it needed to be topped because it's gonna hit that gazebo.
Right.
But you don't want to cut down, correct?
Well, I'm- huh?
Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
To recap
Yes.
the agenda? Okay.
Yes.
I have the IDB appointments, the new hires for Public Works, and Mr. Ken Wagner.
That's it?
Anything else?
That's very little.
I think that tree needs to be cut down myself.
I would like,
You're running over your.
I think the tree probably needs to be removed because it's gonna continue to cause an issue. I didn't know that was an option. I thought just topping it was an option. But if you're
No,
cutting it
They
down.
said they would come back and take it all the way down.